People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hello there. This morning we discuss a phone call for the history books.
Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin thrash it out in a 2-hour conversation.
The Russian president made marginal concessions but rejected America's demand that all fighting stops in Ukraine.
It's left many asking whether Putin has played Trump.
You have a lot of guns pointing at each other, and a ceasefire without going a little bit further would have been tough. Russia has the advantage, as you know.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
And there it is, we have splashed on. The two astronauts who spent 9 months in space, but it was supposed to be 8 days.
Yeah, they returned, thankfully. Labour cracks the whip, promising to shave £5 billion off the benefits bill by targeting disability payments.
And the number of people claiming personal independence payments set to double this decade, from 2 to 4.3 million.
And we'll also be talking about Prince Harry's visa documents. They've been unsealed, not that we see too much in them, but we'll be debating whether it's about time America got tough and deported His Royal Highness.
What are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
Netflix hit Adolescence is hailed as one of the best TV dramas of the year, highlighting issues like toxic masculinity and youth violence. We'll be joined by psychologists to break down the rise of internet personalities like Andrew Tate.
Now, why would I want to watch that? Looks depressing. This is history you're looking at here. JFK, the assassination files have been released. What do we see? Yeah, you've guessed it, nothing.
And in sport, live from the grassy knoll this morning, Thomas Tuchel gets ready for his first England matches since taking over as manager, with World Cup qualifiers against Albania and Latvia. Well, there's some big games to look forward to. Tennis is heading for civil war, with Novak Djokovic's players' union filing lawsuits against the governing bodies. And the ex-Bulgarian footballer announced as dead, who's actually alive, has spoken, and he's still alive.
It's a cold start out there this morning, but temperatures are set to rise over the next few days. Find out just how warm it's going to get in your full forecast coming up.
Hello there, a very good morning to you on this Wednesday morning, halfway through the week. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Nana Akweer, and this is GB News Breakfast.
So, Paul, the footballer who was reported as dead and is alive.
Is alive.
Whereas I'm alive but feel dead.
Oh, do you really? But you are reported as alive.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
But I'm still waiting. Going to be waiting for 60 years for the files about you to come out, and then I will look into that a little bit more.
Everything will be redacted.
I love all the JFK stuff. I've always been a JFK.
Always same as me. But I get really annoyed and this is it. You see, again, I'll just say politicians absolutely full of it. All of them. What's his name? Trump. He's saying, we're going to see all these files will be on show. You'll see everything. You see nothing at the end of the day. So they're redacted. So, you know...
There was one part of it, I think, where we discovered that there's a link to Russia in there. So, but then...
What link to Russia? From who?
I don't know. In the file, there's something...
Because he went there, didn't he?
Yeah,
but I knew he was linked to Russia.
Yeah. So there's nothing new.
There's nothing new there.
Oh, well,
we knew that.
You know, so it's a bit like the Prince Harry stuff, isn't it? I mean, I want to know whether he lied on his visa application.
Well, of course he did.
They're never going to... Yeah, exactly.
Of course he did, because if he hadn't have lied, they wouldn't be redacting it.
Exactly.
So we know he's lied, so why isn't he thrown out of the country?
Yeah, well, you know, he might be sent to Ecuador like those... the Ecuadorians have some of them have actually offered to leave America because they're scared of being deported. That's how you do it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, look, listen, if you have been thrown out of America or refused entry or whatever because of taking drugs, let us know, or you know of a person who may have been taking drugs. Let us know about them. But obviously, Harry's got off with it. The rules don't seem to apply to him.
No, I think there's still time. I think he's holding Donald Trump. They're holding his feet to the fire, saying we will give people a little bit, but we're not going to give them everything unless. So he's still keeping him under.
Unless what, we get one of Meghan's green waffles.
Unless he tries to do that ridiculous thing like make ice cubes with flowers in them and rubbish like that. They're awful documentaries.
So much to talk about today. See you later, alligator.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
OK. Top story today is what, Nana?
Vladimir Putin. Well, he's rejected an immediate ceasefire deal proposed by Donald Trump after what has been described as a frank 2-hour call between the world leaders.
Well, a 30-day truce on energy facilities was agreed, so if you don't attack them, you don't blow them up, on condition that Ukraine doesn't rearm.
But Putin also called for a complete cessation of Western support for Ukraine. But President Trump told Fox News aid was not discussed.
We didn't talk about aid, actually. We didn't talk about aid at all. We talked about a lot of things, but aid was never discussed.
Right, well, soon after the phone call, explosions and sirens rang out over Kyiv and people warned to take cover there.
Downing Street says Sir Keir Starmer has since spoken to Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Russian journalist Alexei Vyryasov joins us now. Alexei, thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to ask you, first of all, do we know any more of the details of that phone call? And if so, what do we know?
Okay, the most important thing about the call is that both the Kremlin and the Trump's White House have agreed that the war must end with the long-lasting peace. Even more important than that, they both agreed that this war should never have started in the first place. And you should actually read between the lines here. What they're really saying is that it's the Biden administration and the Democrats, and because of them, the war started. So let's see where this romance between Russia and the US goes from here. But Trump certainly didn't get what he wanted from Putin, and the war is ongoing on the battlefield.
Ukraine weren't at the table as well. Is there any input from Volodymyr Zelensky? Has he said anything about that?
Of course, Kyiv is unhappy about not even having a say in Ukraine's future. And listen, this actually feeds perfectly into the Kremlin's narrative that Russia has never been at war with Ukraine. Instead, Russia is actually at war with NATO and the United States. And a lot of people discarded last thing, like clearly Russia is at war with Ukraine. And now we have the negotiations process, the peace deal is underway, but where is Ukraine? Where is Zelensky? No, they're not at the table. And in Russia, we're saying, well, look, Trump is the actual stakeholder here, and we should just negotiate with Washington, which, of course, like Zelensky and Kyiv cannot be happy about.
Now, I want to ask you, what are the Russian people saying? Do they know what's happening, or... Because obviously Russian state TV will report, I presume, this in a very positive way for Russia. How is it being reported in Russia?
Well, of course, it seems like a major diplomatic victory for Russia, because in over 3 years since the beginning of this war, there was no major summit between Russian and Western officials. And then we have this call with Trump, and they're not only saying that the war must end, but they're also talking about the future world order and restoring Russian-American relations. And it's like new era of prosperity where Moscow and Washington can be friends again. And actually, it's very well reflected on the markets, because the Russian ruble is finally gaining some ground, becoming stronger again. And it's just, first of all, like in Russia, everyone is really tired of this war. So, of course, it's perceived with a lot of optimism here.
Alexei, it's interesting hearing about the ruble getting stronger. What about the Russian army? Would it be getting stronger? What state it's in? We hear everything's been reported, Putin in a position of strength. But if this war was to continue, would he be in a position of strength?
That's a hard one. And I think the reason why Putin has not yet agreed to full ceasefire, and we have only agreed to stop bombing like each other's infrastructure, because both Kyiv and Moscow actually hope to achieve some breakthrough on the battleground. We in Russia hope that we can still at least hold the ground, maybe liberate the region of Kursk occupied by the Ukrainian army right now. But Ukrainians also hope to win some of their land back. And the war is not over yet, unfortunately. But where we will be militarily, we shall see in the upcoming weeks.
And just finally, Alexei, do you think we are one step closer to peace at all?
But of course, yeah. Well, in Western media, I've heard people are saying, no, it's just like Putin is trying to outmaneuver everyone once again, and Russia is just like regrouping, and the war will continue. I really hope it's not the case. I do believe that, you know what, 10 years of negotiations is better than 1 day of war, and we have finally started talking to each other again. Russians are very optimistic about this peace process. Let's hope it will actually end in a long-lasting peace.
Alexei, thanks for the update. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. If you've got a view, get in touch with us this morning and have your say on this whole situation.
Right, let's get your weather update with Tom Morgan.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Blue skies and plenty of sunshine on offer once again today, but it will be a cold start, and we have got a fairly widespread frost this morning, particularly across more central and northern parts of the UK. But plenty of sunshine across the board. Just a little bit more in the way of wispy high clouds spreading up from the south as we go through the middle to latter part of this afternoon. And perhaps just one or two very isolated showers, but a much sunnier day for Northern Ireland and for northern and western parts of Scotland compared to Tuesday. And look at these temperatures, a little bit higher than of late, so perhaps 16 or 17 degrees in parts of England and Wales, and even further north it should be a fine end to the day as well. A bit more in the way of cloud developing as we go through into this evening, though. And as you can see on the graphics, just a small chance of catching a very isolated light shower, but most places will stay dry. And temperatures through this evening's rush hour still 12-13 degrees in the south, a little bit colder about across Northern Ireland, across parts of Scotland. Temperatures dipping away fairly quickly into single figures here through this evening underneath those clearing skies. And we will see temperatures fall once again below freezing as we go through the course of tonight. But those clearing skies maintain the low temperatures across Scotland and Northern Ireland and Northern England through tonight. Just the chance of the odd shower clipping parts of Shetland and Orkney. Underneath those clearer skies, a widespread frost to come tonight. Temperatures perhaps -5 or -6 in the rural spots in Scotland and Northern England, but not as cold across the south. Temperatures here holding up above freezing, and we will see it generally staying frost-free. So through tomorrow then, another pretty fine day across the board. Lots of sunshine out there for all parts of the UK. There will be a fair bit of high-level cloud coming and going at times, but that shouldn't disappoint. And for most of us, we'll see plenty of sunshine. Just a very small chance of a very isolated light shower in the south. But temperatures tomorrow up to 18 or 19 degrees.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front.
Let's get into this whole benefits argument, which has been raging this week. And the Prime Minister says the rising cost of sickness and disability are having a devastating impact on the economy. The Work and Pensions Secretary, she revealed a crackdown aimed at saving $5 billion. Oh, you got to laugh at all this. She's saving 5 and spending 50 billion or so. But anyway, let's speak to Laura McKevitt, who's in the studio with us this morning with her views on all of this. You see, I'm interested in this, Lauren. This Liz Kendall, she comes across as a bit of a tough cookie. She loves flexing her muscles and sounding really hard. I look at them and I think, is anything worth the paper it's written on with any of them? What do you make of her?
I think it's really important before you discuss anything to do with welfare expenditure to remember that when you see the sort of the pie chart on the back of your tax breakdown that comes through every year, that indicates the percentage of where your tax has gone, there's an enormous chunk of that pie chart that's called welfare. A lot of that is pensions. So when we're looking at increases to the welfare budget over the course of the next 10, 20 years, we are very seriously looking at enormous increases in pension expenditure within that budget. So we're obviously not talking about that today. We're talking about cuts in the unemployment benefit, the disability benefit, which is the other section of the welfare budget. And they're trying to reduce that by about £5 billion. I think that's something where you have to be quite a hard person to go into DWP and get reform in some of these areas. It's something that the last Conservative government, I think, wanted to do but didn't have enough political capital to get away with. Obviously, a new Labour government, massive majority in the House of Commons, can probably get away with a lot more because they can afford to lose some of their backbenchers to a rebellion. I think she's going to have to be pretty hard to get some of these cuts through.
So what are the main cuts that she's trying to push forward with?
So she's attempting to alter the way that disability payouts from DWP are organised. So the work capability assessment, as I understand it, is being gotten rid of. And the personal independence payment...
They check whether you are
fit to work.
Yeah, so those are the little tests that they do.
And my understanding is that the personal independence payment, which is separate to that, is going to have a higher emphasis placed upon it. There are some concerns. I saw Kirsty Blackman, the SNP MP, tweeting last night about the fact that by saying that you have to get what's called a Category 4 in some of these assessments, a Category 3 is someone who is unable to leave a bath unassisted. Now, that's somebody who, if we think about this logically, should be requiring assistance in some way and should be requiring a financial assistance in order to pay for assistance of some description.
Or maybe it's somebody who should have a shower.
Well, if you have to sit, then you have to sit. Like there's.
Because my mother can't get into a bath properly because she's old and her knees.
Yeah.
So she's now got one of those showers with the door in.
Yeah.
And she can sit for.
So my father, who lost a leg some years ago, similarly immobile, can't use a shower even if it's a walk-in. Has to be able to swing onto a bath. It just depends on the disability.
Category 4.
No, he would be in Category 3.
See.
And this is very, this is an interesting debate to be having, because I think unless you reform some of these categories, you are going to see people with MS, with amputations, having very severe trouble getting hold of financial assistance. And the point of personal independence payment versus work capability payments is, in order to live a normal life, being disabled is more expensive. And in order to...
people that we want to target, really. Surely it's...
But the concern is that she will accidentally be targeted by this. I think that they are also trying, and you've seen West Streeting talk about it this week, to remove a large chunk of people from receiving disability benefits and getting them into work. Where I think they're going to have some difficulty is in failures of the NHS to deal particularly with certain mental health issues, because there's such a backlog in the mental health system, particularly in England. I think that any move to encourage people into work is going to have to be, go hand in hand with better medical treatment.
Will there be any space for common sense?
I very much hope so.
Only one leg.
Yeah.
It should be quite obvious.
Yes, exactly.
That person. I don't think there's a conversation that needs to be. Do you know what I mean?
I think that there has been a degree of common sense that's lacking in some of the assessments that have gone on under the new system. Having said that, DWP estimate fraud in personal independence payments at 0%. So this is already a very harsh system to try and receive assistance through. But there are areas where massive savings could be made. We've seen over the course of the last several weeks, and I know the government are talking about it extensively now, the Motability car scheme. 1 in 5 new cars in the United Kingdom being purchased through this scheme. Wow. This is an enormous sort of uplift to the car market, which is beginning to price normal car purchases out of purchasing. No insurance payments. No VAT payments on the car, and Motability originally was designed around, accessibility in cars. So if you didn't have the use of your legs, to have a car that could use hand controls instead. And this actually, when in campaigning for the election last year, this was raised with me on the doorstep in Norfolk, of a mother of a disabled child saying that there's a person living down the road who has a Motability car for her child, but the child also, the council is paying to take that child to school every day. Mm-hmm. And it's because councils are precluded from assessing in their school transportation assessments whether or not a Motability car is in the family. So there are very silly gaps within the current organisational structures that can be fixed. And my hope is that they go with those. I know that a lot of charities, I think the MS charity in particular, they're really concerned that people, particularly with musculoskeletal issues, could be really negatively impacted by some of these changes. And I really hope that we don't see disabled people unable to function in life, which is what these payments are supposed to assist with. And I hope that we are able to get to a position where people are able to work again.
Lauren, there's so much to this. There's the pounds, shillings and pence aspect of it, and there's the practicality aspect of it, which you've just been outlining there. And I think the building industry has to be taken on board and consulted in this. I mean, why anyone has a shower that you have to step up to get into is ridiculous. Now, I have that, and I have had to have these bars put in so that I can pull and hold on to things to get in and out of a shower. But if you were in a wet room, basically, if it was all on the one level, you just walk in, walk out, or life is much, much easier in general. So many things like that. And if you've got anything you'd like to add to that, then please do let us know today. Lauren, for the moment, thank you very much indeed. We'll get folk to talk to you and you can talk back to them throughout the programme, so have your say on all of that.
Right, still to come. Prince Harry's immigration files have finally been released. Find out what they reveal next. This is GB News Breakfast with Eamonn and Nana.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either. This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Let's go to the USA now. We've got Kenzie Schofield there this morning. All about Prince Harry's visa documents, which we have been debating. What is in them? Did, you know, the fact that he's talked about consuming drugs in his autobiography, did he declare that when applying for US citizenship? What do you know?
That's still a mystery. The Heritage Foundation lawyer Samuel Dewey has said that there are hints indicating Prince Harry lied and didn't divulge that he used drugs when he applied to move to the United States, likely on an O-1 visa reserved for people of exceptional talent or ability and filed with the State Department. Dewey says the key information may be at state, and if that's the case, it gives the Heritage Foundation some insight into what happened there, while people like myself combed through this and thought, what is this? There were so many redacted pages. Heritage Foundation says they have a pretty clear picture of Prince Harry's immigration journey with the O-1 visa, typically submitted by a sponsor. In this case, the Heritage Foundation suspects it was likely one of Harry's foundations, which would have argued for his admittance based on, fundraising or some other exceptional talent. I know Nana has some commentary there, but Samuel Dewey explained that if Prince Harry admitted to taking drugs, that information would have ended up on a file known as the DS-160 and sent straight to the Department of Homeland Security. But if he withheld that info, that visa paperwork would have never ended up in its entirety in the DHS file and would have stayed with the State Department.
So basically, all of this is his own stupid fault. If he hadn't have written that ridiculous memoir and divulged so much information that he thought was kind of cool, and some of it just is unspeakable, like, what's that cream that, let's not talk about that. But if he hadn't done any of that, he would probably be fine right now. Nobody would be interested at all, pretty much.
And, the worst part is this is not over, because the Heritage Foundation claims the hearing transcripts and statements filed on Tuesday are proof of DHS and State Department officials withholding information from the Heritage Foundation, as well as from D.C. U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols. I spoke to an attorney who has sat in the courtrooms through some of these hearings and spoken to the parties involved, and he believes that Heritage will appeal, and this document gives them enough ammunition to properly argue their case going forward.
But as you've outlined it there, just so I understand it, the presidency or the State Department or whatever can actually say, even if you did take drugs, even if you have admitted to this and whatever, we can still access you to the country, we can still allow this to happen because you're an exceptional individual.
I think that if he is an exceptional individual, I don't think that that means he's still allowed to take drugs. I think that there would be some special treatment involved there if that were the case. The Heritage Foundation firmly believes, based on the documents that they saw, that he did not include that information in his paperwork. But they believe there's real protection surrounding how he entered the country. And they believe that it's through the O1 visa, which would mean Prince Harry was special in some way, and that's why he would gain access.
Interesting. Are you disappointed by what hasn't been revealed?
Hey, you know what, Eamonn? Prince Harry keeps me busy. These highlights are expensive. So if Prince Harry wants to continue to act the fool, God love him.
And what about Meghan and her
green pancakes?
Green waffles. Somebody said, the lady who was here earlier, Lauren, she said that it's clear from the way the waffle appeared that actually it hadn't been made, the thing hadn't been made in a waffle maker at all, and that Meghan is, well, again, not really, you know, she didn't really do all that.
I mean, can you believe that was headline news over here? All the major blogs, that there weren't the correct creases based on the waffle maker you see versus the actual waffles themselves. That was headline news over here, that Meghan was grifting again. And what's the point? I think that if you're a cynical person like myself, you suspect that Meghan's trying to distract from the Princess of Wales, you know, adorable return with her beer in her hand and looking absolutely gorgeous on St. Patrick's Day. But maybe she just wanted to share some hideous waffles. I don't know. I didn't see the value in it.
They look radioactive, if you ask me.
Yeah, that looked like a Pepto-Bismol commercial to me.
Yeah. Kinsey, lovely seeing you. Haven't seen you in a while. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.
Oh, the lovely
Thanks.
Kinsey Schofield. She's great, isn't she? Well, listen, stay with us. Coming up, Paul Coyte will be here with all the latest sports news. But first, if you're travelling to work or school, here's the traffic and travel update. And don't forget to stay with us on digital and radio.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are delays of up to an hour and a half to the 7:30 Stena Line sailing between Cairn Ryan and Belfast. In Greater Manchester, Village Way is closed between Salford Quays and Trafford Park for emergency repairs. A couple of problems in London. The A114 is closed along Wood Grange Road in Forest Gate after an accident last night. And the A213 is closed along Newlands Park in Sydenham for emergency gas repairs. On the M26, it's taking 20 minutes in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. In Devon, the A386 is closed along Tavistock Road at Derriford in Plymouth after an accident. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Well, how are you getting along in Lent? Christians right across the world are observing and having various practices, and we are bringing you daily reflections from ministers in this country. Let's have a listen and a look at today's Lental message.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
What if, and bear with me here, what if you're meant to be here? What if life is not completely random, just atoms bumping into atoms, but has meaning and purpose behind it? What if there is loving intention behind existence and therefore behind your existence? That would change everything, wouldn't it? If you're meant to be here, that would mean your existence was purposeful. Surely then finding out what your purpose is would be the most important thing in life, wouldn't it? Throughout the biblical narrative and in the Christian tradition, when people say yes to God, when they say yes to Jesus, they often encounter a new sense of purpose. Sometimes it's really dramatic, but often, even if it's not dramatic, it's still pretty profound. We find within God's love that we are meant to be here, to make a difference in our communities and in the lives of others. Even if it's modest, we can find a sense of meaning and purpose.
And that is today's daily reflection during this holy season of Lent.
Have you given up anything at all?
No, I've done extra things.
That's good.
You don't have to give up. You can put the effort in.
What can you say? What the extra things are? Wonder what they are.
Thank you for asking.
Right, well, let's see. Have you sprung into action yet with our spring giveaway? Your chance to win a fabulous designer handbag, 2 highly sought-after designer watches, and an incredible £17,777.
Absolutely incredible.
In tax-free cash.
OK, you can spend it on anything you want. It's an amazing prize package, and it could be yours.
Spring has sprung with a great British giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh, no, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Paul's here with the Wednesday morning sport. Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, you too.
And I see on the back pages Dan Byrne
Dan Burn, well, England are playing, so it's the international break, and England will play Albania on Friday, and then they play Latvia on Monday. These are World Cup qualifiers. So Dan Burn, actually, firstly, because Thomas Tuchel, it's his first squad, has taken over as England manager. Morgan Gibbs-White from Nottingham Forest has been included now. It was expected that he would be in the original group, but he wasn't, and he was really upset by it because he's been playing really well. He was expected that he was going to be in there. Anyway, due to Cole Palmer from Chelsea getting injured, Thomas Tuchel made a call to Morgan Gibbs-White, and Morgan Gibbs-White said what happened. He said, this is what Tuchel said, "Are you still upset with me, or do you want to join us on fancy training visits tomorrow?" So he then said, yeah, of course, absolutely. So he wasn't upset with him anymore. And he's now moved in, so he's very happy. Dan Burn, of course, who was the hero from Sunday from the Carabao Cup final, he's in, and he spoke anyway to the press yesterday, and this is what he said about joining the group.
First of all, he said I was very unprofessional for not being in bed for 10 o'clock, so so I apologise for that. And then he said that had been ringing everyone who hadn't made the squad, so again, I didn't think I was making it. And he just said he needed to sort of end the day on a good note, and that he wanted us to be in the squad, and just to sort of do what he felt my strengths were, which I'd explained when I spoke to him. I said exactly the same to Eddie Howe when signed for Newcastle. I thought I could offer just as much off the pitch as I do on. I feel like I'm a leader. On and off the pitch, I feel as if I just sort of sit into that role. I know it's going to be tough coming into here, knowing all these international players, and I've never done that before, but that's how I feel like I can best help the team, and that's what I'd want to do.
Good old-fashioned defender.
He reminds me of players like Tony Adams or Terry Butcher.
Absolutely. Tough, tall, commanding, real captain material.
32 years of age for all of this to be happening to him.
That's quite old for a footballer.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's... with the World Cup coming up, he's still going to be young enough to be involved in that. And I say good for him. I'm really pleased for him. I also like the fact that Thomas Tuchel is phoning people. I often wonder how players find out whether they're in the squad. Back in the day, and when I say back in the day, probably going back 40 years or so, they'll get a letter. So a letter would come from the FA. I remember speaking to Eric Dyer about this about a few years ago. He's now at Bayern Munich. And he said, I said, well, how do you find out? And he said, we've got a text. I said, will you show me? So he showed me a text from the FA that says, you will be requested to report at St George's Park. Don't forget your boots and your shin pads. And that's what it said to a professional footballer. So that's how they would find out. Whereas Tuchel is phoning them, which is nice.
Some of them aren't that clever and probably quite forgetful, but they can play, which is all you need. What about tennis? Novak Djokovic. Novak Djokovic.
Yes, that's a fella.
Novak
Djokovic. Listen, you can't knock a Djokovic. Now, it's almost like there's a civil war, which is in tennis at the moment. There was a lawsuit that was filed yesterday by the Professional Tennis Players Association, which Novak Djokovic oversees. Now, it's launched legal action and accused the governing bodies, like the ATP and the WTA, of running a corrupt, abusive and illegal system. Now, the tennis players aren't happy. Now, this is some of the things that they're arguing about. They're saying that players are forced to play in 100-degree heat and also sometimes at 3 a.m., which we've seen in the Australian Open and in the States as well, which is fair enough. Inferior tennis balls have caused injuries, so they're getting sponsorship from tennis ball manufacturers, and it's affecting wrist injuries.
Why? Because all balls aren't uniform then?
No, they're not. They're not. Different makes a different. You get some, like you
harder, softer.
Yeah, you'd get Schlesinger balls that would be used at Wimbledon, which are obviously the best you could get. You get Penn balls in the States, and other ones, they bounce differently, they're all made differently, and they're saying it affects them, so it can make them get them injured. There's an 11-month schedule. Players are exploited. They don't get to sign over image rights. So basically, they want more control, better conditions, and they're going to court.
They get a lot of money.
Paul, two football stories, a good one and a better one.
Yep.
A good one, really good one. Eddie Howe and the freedom of Newcastle.
Yeah, he's been given the freedom of Newcastle. He has to swear to defend the city. He is allowed to graze his cattle on the town moor. The first freedom of Newcastle, I'm sure you know, is William Cavendish, the first Duke of Newcastle, 1642. And also Brendan Foster, Alan Shearer, Jonathan Edwards and Stevie Wonder all have the freedom of Newcastle, and so will Eddie. So well done.
And finally, Petko Ganchev, the week started off badly for him. He was pronounced dead.
Yes.
But he isn't.
Yeah, it was turned out, we did the story, it turned out he was alive, he was announced dead. They had a minute's silence at the club he used to play for, Arda, and anyway, the club apologised, and he's spoken for the first time. He said, I was 10 minutes late for kick-off because I had a personal job. Whilst driving home, my phone started ringing. I parked in front of the house, and my wife greeted me crying, shouting, Petco, Petco, you're alive. So he's like, what's going on? He's walking through the street. We thought you were dead. So they had a huge thing. It was live on TV, minute silence.
Why did they think he was dead?
It was a rumour in the village, and it turned out it was all nonsense.
It's like that quote from Flash Gordon from Brian Blessed.
Yes.
Gordon's alive.
That's it. They actually brought Brian Blessed in to actually make that announcement in Bulgaria. It's wonderful.
Very good.
News.
OK, we're going to take a break. We're back with the papers. Pat Sharp, Claire Muldoon, right after this.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst we're enjoying plenty of sunshine across the UK at the moment, it's a cool and blustery picture across the eastern Med, and we have stormy conditions out towards the west as well. So parts of Portugal and Spain really seeing some very unsettled weather with thunderstorms, heavy rain and strong winds over the next few days. Fine across most of Italy, though, with some sunshine, and fairly decent across Greece and Turkey, but cool and blustery in those strong northwesterly winds. Temperatures are set to increase, though, over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, the end of February marks the beginning of the holy month of Ramadan, and the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer was quick to wish all Muslims Ramadan Mubarak.
Yes, he was, and the royal family also took to their Twitter feed, and they have millions of followers to mark the occasion, sending their best wishes to Muslims in the UK, Commonwealth and all around the world.
Which is all very nice, and quite right, of course, because there are many, many Muslims who are in the Commonwealth, which the royal family heads. However, what's been said for the Christians?
Zippo.
Because there's been a deafening silence from, well, the royal family, politicians and many others as Christians mark the beginning of Lent, despite the fact the King is, of course, head of the Church of England.
Yes, it's all rather disappointing. Shall we get the reaction of the former chaplain to Queen Elizabeth II, Dr Gavin Ashenden? Thank you very much indeed, Gavin, for coming on. Are Christians being forgotten in this country? I am taken aback by the fact that the royal family would take to their Twitter feed, which is watched by millions of people, to celebrate the holiday of Ramadan, but no mention of Lent, no mention of Shrove Tuesday, no mention of Ash Wednesday, nothing.
Yes, it's all very odd, and it's not easy to understand, because as you quite rightly said, it's the right and courteous thing to do to wish Muslims well on what is for them a very important feast day. Why would we not want to be courteous and generous and supportive to people quite rightly pursuing their own religious devotions? But it as well as two-tier policing, we appear to be having two-tier religion in this country, because as you say, there's complete silence for the Christians, who still make up nearly 50% of the country.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Very nice to see Claire Muldoon and Pat Sharp in the studio this morning to give their views on various stories there are. And Pat, Kemi Badenoch, what has she said about Nigel Farage?
Well, your colleague here, he's a reality TV star. He's not fit to run your life, apparently, because she is suggesting that a slow and steady rebuild of the Tory party will prove the antidote to Mr Farage's reality TV appeal. Now, he's only done, what's he done? He's done The Jungle, but really, if you think when he's on here, it's not reality, is it?
Well, he's been a politician pretty much all his life.
Yeah.
So he's one of the most significant figures in politics.
So
effective.
One reality TV show doesn't make him a reality TV star. It's not as if he's on everything. He's
but Kemi Badenoch may be better off joining a reality TV show to get some sort of profile. I mean, she hasn't done much since until this week, really.
What would you put her on? Bake Off, maybe?
I don't know. Maybe
it's not really reality, is it?
Put her on the wheel.
On the wheel? I've not seen that.
I've done The Wheel and The Jungle, and I'm not a reality TV
The Wheel?
star.
What? I don't even know what that is.
The Wheel with Michael McIntyre, you know. The Wheel.
I don't know.
It's like me singing the jingle. But either way, he's not a reality TV star, and I think she's just having a dig at him because, you know, if you watch him on GB News and stuff, obviously it's not reality, is it?
No, well,
it's real.
It's real. It's actual proper reality.
Yeah. But why would she want to diss someone that clearly has a hold on the populist vote in the country? And there's a lot of people who do admire and respect and actually follow Farage. Is this all down to Rupert Lowe's defection, perhaps, to potentially the Conservatives after being made an independent?
If she senses they're down, she's going to enjoy kicking them. I mean, that's what it's about.
But she's not doing herself any favours, is she, really? Nor is she doing the Conservative Party, of which she is leader, any favours at all either.
Even if you don't support Nigel Farage, you cannot simply put him down as just a reality TV star. That's not going to go down well for Kemi at all.
And she could look back to Nadine Dorries, who also no longer a politician, obviously, with the Tories, but she did it as well. So maybe Kemi is next. Perhaps this is her plan to get in the jungle.
Maybe.
OK, let's talk about litter, plastic litter on the beaches. It's up by 10% in a year. This doesn't surprise me in the slightest. It's absolutely everywhere. And then there's this thing that I thought all plastic water bottles, but by that I mean mineral water that you buy in the shops and things, they have this very irritating thing, a lot of soft drinks. The lid thing, which is horrendous. Absolutely horrendous, right? It doesn't come off. You unscrew it and it doesn't come off, right?
And then it hits you in the nose.
But there is, I find that Buxton water, it does come off. On Buxton water, you can take it off separately. But I'd just like to know what the point is, keeping it on.
So it doesn't get thrown away, so don't throw it on the floor.
Well, also, for children, when you have those little... I always worry, because my son...
What size must his mouth be?
No, but he puts his mouth over the lid sometimes. I said, don't do that, because you could choke on that. No. So I think part of it is a safety thing for it to be attached to the bottle.
It's a European Union law. That's what it is under. Yeah, so and a lot of the water is brought over. It is completely...
Well, what they should just be doing, Claire, is banning plastic. If they're serious about it, don't keep the top hanging on.
I agree.
Just ban plastic.
I agree completely. However, when you go into supermarkets now, how many things are actually wrapped in plastics? Hundreds. Hundreds of products.
But this is why I believe, you know, this is why I believe, and I get really angry about it. Don't give me all these platitudes about we should do this with plastic, we should do that, and it all ends up our fault again.
Yes.
It's not our fault, it's manufacturers' fault. We only take it in plastic because we're giving it in plastic.
And also, logistically, it's a lot cheaper to import and move plastic than it is glass. Yeah. That's another reason.
Yeah. Isn't everything really hard to undo? Everything. I spend hours trying to undo something because of the plastic. It's all everything. Yeah. I go, I'll just leave it. I'll get something else.
I thought you were going to make a really important point there, Pat.
That is important for me.
How difficult it is to actually undo unuseful legislation that brings us to talk about things like that.
That's what I thought you were going to talk about as well.
That's what I was going to do, but I thought I didn't want to upstage you.
I know you. I know
Claire,
you.
What do you make about this Prince Harry situation? So they've his visa application or whatever it is, his citizenship application has been released, and there's nothing really we can read on it.
I think he actually applied under the A1 visa for America, and that's a diplomatic government visa. And if you are given that visa, if that visa is issued, then there is no time scale in which you have to leave the country, and you can come and go as often as you like. The problem with the A1 visa, and that's why I think a lot of it is redacted in the papers just released, is the fact that you must be doing work for your government. You must be there as a political diplomatic, in a political diplomatic role almost.
Maybe
and we
he's a
know
spy.
he's not. And we know of course he's not. But the pièce de résistance for me, and this is quite an old quote, of course, of Trump, was when he said, well, why give the man any more troubles? He's got enough troubles with his wife.
Yeah, that was quite funny, wasn't it? He doesn't like Meghan Markle, but then she's been quite offensive towards him as well, so she should be very careful with that. Has anybody managed to catch her a new cooking thing with Love Meghan?
I have. I tried to watch it, but I'm afraid I just couldn't.
No, Pat,
wrapped in plastic, I couldn't get it undone.
When it comes to the official rate of inflation,
yes,
what's now being taken into account?
Well, you're not going to believe this, Eamonn, for the ONS. They've decided to add, I'm sure you've got both of these, yoga mats, everybody, and virtual reality headsets. Have you ever put one of these on? Because they are really catching on. It just puts you into another world and you're completely...
So it used to be like loaves of bread and bottles of milk and all that sort of thing. But now a yoga mat, like, I've never owned a yoga mat. Maybe I should have.
I have two.
Have
I
you?
went to my very hot yoga class.
Okay, well, you're contributing then to the cost of living.
Yeah.
Me.
And then
rolled up on your own?
Well, they're very old, though. I'm not buying any more.
The funny thing about this list is that one of the things that is out, as opposed to in, is newspaper adverts, and they printed it in a newspaper. So
yeah.
I wonder if oat milk is on that.
Everything's gone
on
online.
that list. It's just hideous.
This
new case in point, yoga, oat milk.
No, that would be soy if I was one of them. No, it's because I can't really eat dairy, so that's why I have oat.
Men's sliders, they're in as well. Sliders, the shoes. She can wear
Eamonn wears Crocs.
Dangerous shoes.
What is? I mean, I know what a slider is.
Yeah.
Slider's ice cream. But in my line, what is a slider?
No, it's just comfy shoes like Crocs, but you can wear with socks.
Oh, I never knew that.
And that rhymes.
No. A slider is a really beautiful object. Do you call them sliders?
What, the nuggets?
Just two wafers, and then the ice cream goes in the middle.
Yeah, but one of the bottom wafers covered in chocolate, and there's marshmallow in the inside of it, and then the ice cream on top.
Yeah, it could
call it a nugget.
You're going off
a
topic.
double nugget.
Yes, we come back.
Pat,
we better go.
You're on fire this morning.
Thank you. Well, listen, they'll be back in a very short while. Loads more still to come here on GB News Breakfast.
Where are you going to?
I don't know. Where are you going?
No, I don't know what you're doing either. We've got 2 minutes now,
We've got
right?
2 minutes. We've got 2 extra minutes.
What about the two astronauts who came down, who splashed down yesterday? They managed to keep this quite quiet. They were up there for 8 days. They end up for 9 months. Everybody goes, hush, hush, don't mention the war. And, I mean, these people won't be able to walk for another year.
They had to be stretchered to hospital.
No.
Yes. I mean, you can imagine being up there. They did not. They weren't trained for this. Starliner took them up to the International Space Station last June. There was an issue with it. The Starliner machine came down by itself without the astronauts, who were deposited onto the International Space Station, where they stayed for 9 months.
What were they meant to be doing on this space station?
Well, collecting data, I would assume, and making
having a little look around the Earth and going, bye, that was lovely.
That was lovely. See you later.
But no, not to be. I don't want to be up in space at all.
No, nor do I.
Until it's like the Starship Enterprise.
I won't be going up there.
But it's like that, I'm fine.
Once the doors are open.
Yeah.
Oh, I just find it all a bit bizarre, actually.
That must have been very weird for them to be trapped up.
Hugely. I mean, how do you deal with that? You know, mentally and physically, I think they're going to be in great difficulty.
I know some people might be eating, but what about, you know, like if you need to go to the toilet and things like that, bowel movements, what happens? So just float up around?
I don't know, but I just remember a very funny Billy Connolly joke.
That's a
being
floater.
as popular as something in a space.
They must have been up there with it all floating around them.
Well, you wonder how they would have enough food, how, you know, and enough things to live, really.
Well, they've probably got a lot of food up there, but it's more like...
You wouldn't think they would have 2 extra... I mean, it's all about weight and balance. You wouldn't not think that they would have enough provisions for 2 extra people for 9 months.
Yeah.
And one of them was a Russian. Not the 2 that are mentioned here, but there was 4 that came back down with them, one of which was a Russian.
I'd love to hear what happened and what they went...
Claire and Pat, you come back down again in 40 minutes or so with us. We'll see you then. Thank you very much indeed for your contributions there. Let's get an update on the weather situation. We'll see you right after this.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are delays of up to an hour and a half to the 7:30 Stena Line sailing between Cairnryan and Belfast. In London, the A114 is closed along Woodgrange Road by Wanstead Park Station after an accident last night. Also in London, the A213 is closed along Newlands Park in Sydenham for emergency gas repairs. Trains have been stopped between Gravesend and Ebbsfleet International because of a signalling problem. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking around half an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. And in Devon, the A386 is partly blocked by an accident on Tavistock Road at Derriford in Plymouth.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
We're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Good morning. It's just 7 o'clock. A phone call for the history books.
Well, that's between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. They thrashed it out over a 2-hour discussion on the telephone.
The Russian president makes small concessions but rejects America's demand for all fighting should stop.
That's left many people asking whether Putin has played Trump.
You have a lot of guns pointing at each other, and a ceasefire without going a little bit further would have been tough. Russia has the advantage, as you know.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
We have Splashdown. The 2 astronauts who spent 9 months in space returned to Earth.
Labour announces plans to shave £5 billion off the benefits bill by targeting disability payments. Is it too little, too late?
And the number of people claiming personal independence payments set to double this decade, from 2 to 4.3 million.
Prince Harry's visa documents are released. We'll be debating if America should deport His Royal Highness.
What are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
Gosh, that looks depressing, doesn't it? Adolescence on Netflix. Big success, though. Hailed as one of the best TV dramas of the year. Find out why many parents are saying it's a wake-up call.
The John F. Kennedy assassination files are released in full, sending history buffs wild.
And in sport this morning, Ian Wright's called Real Madrid's women's pitch a disgrace as Arsenal lost 2-0. You can see the state of the mud there as they lost 2-0 last night. Thomas Tuchel gets ready for his first England matches since taking over as manager with World Cup qualifiers against Albania and Latvia. And tennis is heading for civil war with Novak Djokovic's Players' Union filing lawsuits against the governing bodies.
It's a cold start out there this morning, but temperatures are set to rise over the next few days. Find out just how warm it's going to get in your full forecast coming up.
Hello there. It is a Wednesday morning, just after 7 o'clock. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Nana Acquia, and this is GB News Breakfast.
However you're watching, however you're listening, whether you're at home, in the car, good to have you on board. And we've got Paul Coit on board as well.
Listen, I've got something very exciting.
What?
It's an anniversary. It's the 50th anniversary of something, of a TV show that was showed for the first time on TV in this country 50 years ago this week.
OK. Do we guess? Is it a sporting thing or is
No, have a look. There we go. I've got a picture. Who is this?
That's Hong Kong Phooey.
It's Hong Kong Phooey.
I used to
Fanrific. Yeah.
I don't think... Would that be allowed anymore? Can you
actually, that's a very good point. Yes.
I'm thinking about Hong Kong Phooey might be seen as some sort of insult. I don't know.
Well, I don't think so. He was a dog that did kung fu. Because back in the 70s, everything was kung fu. You had kung fu with David Carradine, didn't
Bruce Lee.
But they'll
Bruce Lee. Kung fu pajamas. You have kung fu pajamas?
No.
What, did you have kung fu pajamas?
No, but you're right. I mean, the whole craze kung fu.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
It was huge. And Hong Kong Phooey, the mild-mannered janitor, 50 years ago this week was first on TV.
Can you remember the song?
Hong Kong Phooey.
Quicker than a human eye.
No, it's the #1 super guy.
That's it. That's it.
The second one, Hong Kong Phooey.
Faster
Quicker than a human eye.
Yeah, that was great. I should have rehearsed, shouldn't I? I should have probably about 50 years ago.
Well, we haven't got the hound that is Hong Kong Phooey to show you, but we have got these. Have a look at these pandas, because the whole social media world has gone panda crazy. So we see various pandas doing various things here, but people see them, I think, Nana, as human. Like humans in costumes there, and they're very, even though, I mean, they could be killers, couldn't they?
Well, they don't eat meat. I think they're vegetarians. But I used to have a panda when I was very young, and I called it Pandy. And it was
a real panda, was it?
No, it's a little one. It's a teddy bear. I used to take it everywhere with me. And my parents, because it turned out it was contaminated, so my parents tried to get rid of it. And they took it to the school jumble sale.
It was contaminated?
What with?
It's thrown on the floor. I've been taking it everywhere.
Was it like rabies or something? What was it?
Other sort of nonsense. But anyway, they took it to the jumble sale, my parents, and I bought it back. It was a school jumble
did
sale.
you?
I thought I had two.
And do you still have it?
I don't know where Pandy went off.
All right, Pandy.
Right, so...
It's so cute, though.
Look at that.
Oh, hang on, wait, that would be out if it got hold of your neck.
Right. Do you know, while we're on the subject, I didn't remember there that pandas were vegetarian, so that's good. Do you know what the most lethal bear in the world is? The biggest killer bear?
Probably
you
the
do?
polar bear, right?
Polar bear, absolutely.
They look gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I think they're one of the only animals that will see humans as prey straight away.
That is absolutely right. Their primary source of food would be human, if they could.
They would love them. They'd love you.
But that's because, I mean...
They love you, Eamonn.
Yeah.
There'd be a lot of eating. A lot of eating there.
But lunch and dinner there.
And tea. Yeah, there is...
a couple of weeks,
The fact that they live in, Arctic conditions... and there's nothing about the land. They're not particular about what they eat.
Maybe the darker meat will be a speciality, so they'll save me.
Okay.
That's one of them.
Right, step away from there.
There you are. Thanks, Paul. Speak again in about 15, 20 minutes' time. Top story today, Vladimir Putin rejected an immediate ceasefire deal. It was a 2-hour phone conversation yesterday with Donald Trump.
A 30-day truce on energy facilities was agreed on the condition that Ukraine doesn't rearm during the pause.
President Trump told Fox News aid wasn't discussed.
We didn't talk about aid, actually. We didn't talk about aid at all. We talked about a lot of things, but aid was never discussed.
Then in Kyiv last night, soon after the telephone call, explosions and sirens rang out all over the city, people being told to take cover.
Well, earlier we spoke to Russian journalist Alexei Vyryasov.
Okay, the most important thing about the call is that both the Kremlin and the Trump's White House have agreed that the war must end with the long-lasting peace. Even more important than that, they both agreed that this war should never have started in the first place. And you should actually read between the lines here. What they're really saying is that it's the Biden administration and the Democrats, and because of them the war started. So let's see where this romance between Russia and the US goes from here. But Trump certainly didn't get what he wanted from Putin, and the war is ongoing on the battlefield.
Ukraine weren't at the table as well. Is there any input from Volodymyr Zelensky? Has he said anything about that?
Of course, Kyiv is unhappy about not even having a say in Ukraine's future. And listen, this actually feeds perfectly into the Kremlin's narrative that Russia has never been at war with Ukraine. Instead, Russia is actually at war with NATO and the United States. And a lot of people discarded last thing, like clearly Russia is at war with Ukraine. And now we have the negotiations process, the peace deal is underway, but where is Ukraine? Where is Zelensky? No, they're not at the table. And in Russia, we're saying, well, look, Trump is the actual stakeholder here, and we should just negotiate with Washington, which, of course, like Zelensky and Kyiv cannot be happy about.
Now, I want to ask you, what are the Russian people saying? Do they know what's happening? Or because obviously Russian state TV will report, I presume, this in a very positive way for Russia. How is it being reported in Russia?
Well, of course, it seems like a major diplomatic victory for Russia, because in over 3 years since the beginning of this war, there was no major summit between Russian and Western officials. And then we have this call with Trump, and they're not only saying that the war must end, but they're also talking about the future world order and restoring Russian-American relations. And it's like new era of prosperity where Moscow and Washington can be friends again. And actually, it's very well reflected on the markets, because the Russian ruble is finally getting some ground, becoming stronger again. And it's just, first of all, like in Russia, everyone is really tired of this war. So, of course, it's perceived with a lot of optimism here.
Alexei, it's interesting hearing about the ruble getting stronger. What about the Russian army? Would it be getting stronger? What state it's in? We hear everything's been reported, Putin in a position of strength. But if this war was to continue, would he be in a position of strength?
That's a hard one. And I think the reason why Putin has not yet agreed to full ceasefire, and we have only agreed to stop bombing like each other's infrastructure, because both Kyiv and Moscow actually hope to achieve some breakthrough on the battleground. We in Russia hope that we can still like at least hold the ground, maybe liberate the region of Kursk occupied by the Ukrainian army right now. But Ukrainians also hope to win some of their land back. And the war is not over yet, unfortunately.
Meanwhile, the Work and Pensions Secretary has unveiled a crackdown on disability benefits aimed at saving £5 billion a year in the next 5 years.
And that's after experts warned that the sickness bill could soar to £100 billion a year if action wasn't taken.
What action needs to be taken? Let's talk to former Conservative Special Advisor Laura McKevitt on this one this morning. Were you impressed by what you heard yesterday, Laura?
I think that the bill is still going to be going up. I think the £5 billion reduction is basically going to stop it ballooning. I think I read instead of going to 15 billion, it's going to end up going to 10 billion over the course of the next couple of years. And so I think there's probably still more work to do to make sure this bill doesn't.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but I get sort of torn on this one, because I think these are people who need this help. And how would you get into, if you were in a situation where the right people were getting the wrong sort of help or having help taken away from them? Should we not, is this not the areas we should be spending our money on?
So there's a couple of things here. The first is that yesterday's announcement was not just about disability benefit. There are also changes to, for example, out-of-work benefits will no longer be given to people under the age of 22, meaning there's no direct route from education straight into being on a jobless benefit.
But that wasn't just for people who are disabled, was it?
No, this was yesterday's. This is what I'm saying is yesterday's announcement was not just about disabled benefits. They also announced some changes about the long-term impact of disability issues, where people will be assessed less regularly if this is obviously an issue that is not going to go away.
What if you're disabled now to work and under 22? Is there a benefit for those?
I think that, yes, there is still going to be a personal independence payment for people who are unemployed and under the age of 22. I think that there's going to be a separate categorisation for that. But I think, you know, Keir Starmer's writing in the Times today about the importance of work and Labour being the party of work. And I think that's a really important thing for the Labour Party to be talking about, I think, particularly politically speaking, for their reform base, who I think really, you know, it's really, really popular to talk about the concept of reforming welfare in this country. 68% of people polled, as I saw a Bloomberg journalist talking about this yesterday, 68% of people believe there should be reform of the system. This is very clearly a very popular thing to be addressing. What's going to be really key in how they deal with this is not significantly negatively impacting people for whom life is naturally more expensive because they have a disability. And that's what personal independence payment was always supposed to be about, was neutralising the added cost of a disability to day-to-day life, and meaning that people with disabilities could engage in normal life in a much bigger way because that extra expense was taken away from them. And I hope that that doesn't end up being negatively impacted by this.
But they're not really cutting the cost, they're just slowing the increase.
Yeah, there's going to be a slowing of the increase here, and I think that's still going to be an issue that has to be grappled with. You know, like I said in the earlier segment, I'm not sure that there's been enough of a discussion between the Department for Work and Pensions and the Health Department about the poor health outcomes of mental health issues in this country. If those aren't addressed, you're going to see people wash up on the DWP list. So one of the things I'm talking about here is, for example, access to medication for ADHD. There's been a global shortage for about 18 months now of ADHD medication.
Well, that's because everybody's got it.
No, it's actually because of changes to supply chains.
Everybody I know suddenly tells me they've got ADHD.
It's actually to do with changes in supply chains in the United States and changes to US policy where a lot of these drugs are manufactured, resulting in a genuine supply chain issue that was nothing to do with an increase in diagnoses. The NHS mental health system had a problem with the increase in diagnoses, but the NHS supply of pharmaceuticals was impacted by a supply chain issue. If that issue is not addressed, you will see people wash up on the DWP list because they are unable to work without access to medication. So if these two departments aren't talking to each other, you won't actually see a reduction in need, you'll just see a reduction in support. But these people with adequate access to medication will not require support to begin with.
Yeah. Lauren, this is another area where we look and say, what is the answer to this? Who's tackling this? How are we going to solve this sort of thing? And I look upon it and I see, you know, putting your hat on as a Conservative special advisor, could you see an argument for going and saying, look, folks, we sort out our own country first, our own problems first, before we think about aiding the rest of the world in certain areas? I'm not saying no aid for the rest of the world, but I'm saying that there will be certain areas that you will look and you'll say, really, do we need to be giving this money away, or do we need to be using it in the United Kingdom?
I think, firstly, it's really important to understand that the age budget is significantly lower than the welfare budget. The government have announced significant cuts to the aid budget with basically no end in sight to them. They're looking at reducing it to 0.3% of GDP. And I think it's also really important to point out that the welfare bill in this country will continue to rise as the pension costs go up. And one of the things that's going to happen over the course of the next 30 years is a significant alteration in retirees' pension health, because more and more people have a workplace pension now. And at a certain point, more and more people who hit retirement age will have significant pension savings through workplace pensions. And that's as a result of policy shifts over the course of the last 20 years. Over that time, it's going to be important to assess the rate of benefit of the state pension provision, which is classified as a benefit, it's going to be really important to reassess that as more and more people have private pension provision. So there's going to come a point where there's a crossover in the number of people with really large private pension provision from workplace pension changes and the people who require state pension support. And that, in the course of the next 20 years or so, will begin to see the pension welfare bill be reduced if we have some reform of how that system works.
Interesting. All right, Laura, thank you. Lauren, thank you very much. Lauren McEvitt, thank you.
Cheers, Lauren. Right, up in space, those astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, are back on Earth. They splashed down off the coast of Florida yesterday.
And splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
Astrophysicist at the University of Nottingham, Dr. Maggie Liu, joins us now. Dr. Maggie Liu, this is one of those really sort of odd kind of stories. So they got stuck up there. What would have happened to them? Because they were brought off there via stretchers. So what happened to them up there in terms of their own physical mobility in their bodies?
Yeah, so they were planning just to go for an 8-day mission, and due to technical difficulties with the Boeing Starliner that took them up there, this 8-day duration mission turned into 9 months. In space, there is a lack of gravity. So this means the internal fluids will flow quite differently from down here on Earth. For example, your heart will have to pump harder to get the liquid blood around your body. And things like your feet are never working. So Sonny and Butch will have not walked for 9 months, and that's the reason that they were carried away on stretchers. Actually, this is quite the norm. All astronauts returning on space-based missions typically will be taken away on wheelchairs to be assessed, medically assessed. But also things like your eyes, like the shape of your eyes will change, and there's different pressures in your eyes building up because of the fluid flow in your body. Your muscles waste away, you lose a lot of bone density, and it was a long duration in space. They weren't planning to be up there as long as they were.
Oh, God, I mean, I was going to ask, what about going to the toilet? I mean, not too graphically. I can't help it, because I'm wondering, what do they do? Do they have something in there? Or, look, I know it's breakfast, so maybe not too much detail. But can they do all the normal bodily functions and things whilst they're there?
Yes, so there is NASA TV, and things like that are really well documented. So they have this kind of vacuum based system rather than things just floating around.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Doctor, thank you very much indeed. Rather than me, I would have thought, up there.
Well, you won't go up there anyway, you'll be all right.
No, I wouldn't fancy that. Weather situation, let's have a look. As the week goes on, I think we've got a couple of nice days today, which is going to be one of them. Tom Morgan, let's find out.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Blue skies and plenty of sunshine on offer once again today, but it will be a cold start, and we have got a fairly widespread frost this morning, particularly across more central and northern parts of the UK. But plenty of sunshine across the board. Just a little bit more in the way of wispy high clouds spreading up from the south as we go through the middle to latter part of this afternoon. And perhaps just one or two very isolated showers, but a much sunnier day for Northern Ireland and for northern and western parts of Scotland compared to Tuesday. And look at these temperatures, a little bit higher than of late, so perhaps 16 or 17 degrees in parts of England and Wales, and even further north it should be a fine end to the day as well. A bit more in the way of cloud developing as we go through into this evening, though. And as you can see on the graphics, just a small chance of catching a very isolated light shower, but most places will stay dry. And temperatures through this evening's rush hour still 12, 13 degrees in the south. A little bit colder about across Northern Ireland, across parts of Scotland. Temperatures dipping away fairly quickly into single figures here through this evening underneath those clearing skies. And we will see temperatures fall once again below freezing as we go through the course of tonight. But those clearing skies Maintain the low temperatures across Scotland and Northern Ireland and Northern England through tonight. Just the chance of the odd shower clipping parts of Shetland and Orkney. Underneath those clearer skies, a widespread frost to come tonight. Temperatures perhaps -5 or -6 in the rural spots in Scotland and Northern England, but not as cold across the south. Temperatures here holding up above freezing, and we will see it generally staying frost-free. So through tomorrow then, another pretty fine day across the board. Lots of sunshine out there for all parts of the UK. There will be a fair bit of high-level cloud coming and going at times, but that shouldn't disappoint. And for most of us, we'll see plenty of sunshine. Just a very small chance of a very isolated light shower in the south. But temperatures tomorrow up to 18 or 19 degrees.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Question for you, have you sprung into action yet with our spring giveaway?
Yes, it's your chance to win a fabulous designer handbag, 2 highly sought-after designer watches and an incredible £17,777 to spend in tax-free cash.
Have a go.
Spring has sprung with a great British giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day.
Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
26 after 7 o'clock. Good morning. Now, Prince Harry's visa documents have finally been made public after a legal battle.
So is it time for America to take a stand and deport His Royal Highness? For what? Editor-at-large for the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths, good morning to you. And former senior gardener to King Charles, Jack Stooks, joins us both now. Charlotte, I suppose I said deport him for what? Because we didn't learn much from revelations of this document, did we?
I know I'm none the wiser about whether he ticked that box. And I was expecting a heavy redaction, but I was hoping they would redact everything but that one question. And I could not believe that bit got redacted as well. Shocking.
There's literally no point to it. Jack Stooks, your thoughts?
Right. I don't think that he should be deported. I mean, he's married to an American. As we know, he's been there for a great deal of time now. They've got a family. He's bringing money into the US, you know, with all the deals that he's doing there. So I don't see why Trump will suddenly go, oh, let's deport him. It just makes no logical sense.
Well, except, Jack, there's either a rule or there's not a rule. You know, you're either allowed to take drugs illegally or you're not.
Completely, and I get it, you know, he wrote this in his book, but it's not like Prince Harry is the only person in America that's taken whatever drugs that he might have taken. I mean,
that's not the point, is it? If you or I admitted that we'd taken drugs, or it was found that we had, and then we had lied on our forms, we'd be deported super sharpish, wouldn't we? So why should he get any special treatment, Charlotte?
Well, listen, if I was Kate Moss, I'd be pretty annoyed right now. Kate Moss was caught apparently snorting lines of white powder in 2005. She was then pictured 13 years later applying for a US visa. She was a model working, bringing money into, you know, she could have been very successful in New York Fashion Week, bringing money into the country, into the US. And it really damaged her career, but she knew she couldn't apply for a visa because it had been in the public domain that she had dabbled in drugs. And the same for Amy Winehouse, a bit more of an extreme example, but Amy Winehouse had to accept her Grammy from a video link from the UK. And the reason is because it was in the public domain that they had been using drugs. Now, Harry's drug use is now in the public domain by his own admission. But the difference is he didn't dare bring out that book Spare before he'd actually safely arrived in the US. That it was only once he was in that he released the book. And it wasn't, you know, I know Amy Winehouse is a very extreme and tragic example, but Harry does detail quite extensive drug use in Spare. You know, he said he hallucinated that a loo seat was talking to him. And, you know, it's not like he said he tried it once or twice. He's quite explicit that he used a lot of drugs for a long time, especially marijuana.
Charlotte, there's a couple of documents, obviously, which have been heavily redacted. This one on Harry and the one dealing with President Kennedy and his assassination as well. So Donald Trump's all very good at saying, yeah, we're open, we're free, you can have anything, you can read anything. Would he have known the Harry document would have been heavily redacted?
It's an interesting question. I think it's very interesting that the judge had previously said, I'm not going to release it at all, and then did a dramatic U-turn. And I do wonder whether that was Trump's influence, because he's a Trump sort of affiliate. I think he probably did know it would be quite a lot redacted, but I think he probably thought that no question would be answered. However, it is kind of embarrassing for the US as well, if he seemed to have lied and been allowed to stay. And then it would have put Trump in a really difficult position, because Trump probably would have had to deport him. And actually, before Trump met with Prince William at Notre Dame a few weeks ago, he was saying things along the lines of, I'd probably deport him. Then he suddenly changed his tune after meeting Prince William and said he's got enough problems on his plate with his difficult wife, which was quite a controversial thing to say in the first place. But I do wonder, I actually really do wonder whether Prince William William had a word in his ear and said, look, you can keep him. Don't send him back. It will make his life not worth living, because, of course, he wouldn't see his kids. There's no chance Meghan would ever come over here again. So I just wonder whether actually it sort of suits Donald Trump to sort of show off and say, I'm going to do this, that and the other. But really, in reality, he's not cruel enough to separate a man from his family.
Jack, just finally, how would you sum the man up? You know him. Do you think he's a risk to public morality?
I don't think so. I mean, we all knew Harry in the sense that he was a great fun person to have around. And, you know, early days, there was great reports about him. He was always sort of the one that ended up doing the things that probably he shouldn't have been doing, but everyone loved him for it. And, you know, that is the side of Harry that I got to know and see. And he is a lovely person. He's not the kind of person that sort of stands on the side while you do the work. He's very much let's get involved and help everybody get this done. He's that kind of person. He's that natured person. So he's a lovely person, and I know it's been unfortunate with the negative press that he's had since the books come out and since his marriage, but he is deep down a great person.
Well, you're two great people. Thank you for taking part in this, Charlotte and Jack. Appreciate talking to you both this morning. Thank you very much indeed. If you've got a view to share it with us and have your say. We'll be back right after the break.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M4 in Newport is partly blocked eastbound between junctions 25 and 24 from Caerleon to the Cauldre, causing delays. A couple of things going on in London. The A114 is closed in both directions along Woodgrange Road by Wanstead Park Station after an accident last night. And the A213 is closed each way along Newlands Park in Sydenham for emergency gas repairs. Trains have been stopped between Gravesend and Ebbsfleet International because of a signalling problem. And in Devon, the A386 is partly blocked by an accident on Tavistock Road at Derriford in Plymouth. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Oh, it's a busy one this morning. It is all go, is it not?
That's right. Busy, busy, busy. And right now, the Shadow Chancellor, Mel Stride, joins us right now. Good morning, Mel. Now, Mel,
Good morning, Nana.
Good morning. Good morning. Now, look, I just sort of read this. Kemi Badenoch. Now, you were in the leadership race a little while ago. Dame Andrea Jenkins has come out and said that Kemi Badenoch is too weak. Where do you sit with that? Was she the right person for the job?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I've worked closely with Kemi now, served alongside her in Shadow Cabinet. She's running a very united, purposeful team. She's very clear in her Conservative principles, and she's prepared to say what a lot of people are thinking, actually. And I think you saw that yesterday with the launch event, where she had a very robust position on the importance of getting energy costs down, getting the balance right when it comes to climate change, making sure that we can get energy costs such that industry and companies can compete and people can afford those energy bills. And those are quite striking moves, actually, and they are from somebody who is very bold and totally understands what she's all about.
She was very bold towards Nigel Farage, the Reform UK leader. She said he's simply a reality TV star.
Well, I think that's undeniably true to a large degree. He's appeared on various things, hasn't he? I'm a Celebrity and so on, I think. But look, what it's got to be about going forward for us is the deep, meaningful thinking to come up with a policy platform to solve some really big and serious challenges that we face as a country. And that doesn't lend itself to a party that's simply going to be populist and say what they think people want to hear without having done the proper in-depth analysis and thinking around that. And that's the mission that Kemi is leading on, that she has set us now to look at the various aspects of policy and to look at how we're going to do that deep thinking now to come up with the solutions to meet those challenges in the future.
So what else has he appeared on then? Because I can only think of I'm a Celebrity. No, there isn't anything else, is there? All right, look, Kemi actually called net zero.
Sorry, was that a question, Anna? Or,
yeah, it was actually, because
yeah.
you said he's...
Sorry.
We're talking
I'm so sorry, I thought you were asking yourself and looking through papers. I can't see you, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
No, I was just asking you, what else is he...
No, well, yeah.
He hasn't really appeared in anything else,
okay, well, look, I think that's a pretty big one that has many millions of people that follow it. And look, I think the important and serious point here is that politics is a serious business. As a country, we've got some very serious challenges going forward. It is not going to be a case of just making announcements and quick things that we throw out there in order to meet those challenges. It needs deep thinking and the kind of work that we are now going to do as a party as we regain the trust of the British electorate over the coming years.
Big work to be doing on the benefits front, and that's ahead to of Liz, what's her name, Kendall. Basically, you've been there, Mel, and you've had that work and pensions brief before. How do you think she's handling this one?
I think this has been terribly rushed, actually, Eamonn. For example, on personal independence payment changes, which is a big part of what she announced yesterday, there was nothing about that in the Labour Party manifesto at all. They've come to this very late. The reason why they fought shy of welfare reform has been, as you've seen, it's deeply divisive within their own party. And the consequences are that they will not be making the kind of savings in the welfare budget, which will continue to be rising very rapidly as they otherwise would. You need to have a measured and detailed approach to this, not be bounced into it all at the last minute because the Chancellor is scrabbling around for a few £billion here and there because she's messed up the economy, I'm afraid.
But you guys were in power for 14 years and you have experience of work and pensions. Why didn't you do it?
Well, I did a great deal. I was Secretary of State for Work and Pensions for 18 months, and the reforms that I brought in actually save £5 billion across the forecast period, and the OBR said will result in 450,000, almost 500,000 fewer people going on to long-term disability and sickness benefits as a result. But the way that I did that was to take a measured and detailed look at the issue, not to be bounced into things very quickly, which I'm afraid is what's happened here, which is why I think it is too little rather too late. And I think we have to be clear why it's happened. It's because Rachel Reeves is going to have to stand up next week on Wednesday and explain herself in terms of what's happened to this economy, which is that growth has been killed stone dead as a consequence of the decisions and choices that she made in that first budget back in October.
Shadow Chancellor, we've got to call time on you. Thank you very much indeed for your contributions this morning. Thank you. Right, here's Paul, and he'll tell you what's happening sports-wise. Got a quick round-up, Paul.
Women Champions League. Arsenal lost 2-0 to Real Madrid last night. The thing is, everybody's talking about was the conditions they had to play in. It was at the Estadio Alfredo Di Stefano, which is the smaller stadium, which is right next to the Bernabeu in Madrid. The playing conditions, I mean, Ian Wright said they were a disgrace. There was a few swear. They just, this is playing football in the 70s. This is what it was all about. It was just mud everywhere. Second leg is going to be at the Emirates, and I think the conditions will be slightly better than they were in Madrid. So maybe they'll stand a better chance when they play there.
OK. Finally, just a tribute to Alan Hansen, whose health has recovered, thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Big day for him yesterday.
Well, he got an MBE yesterday. It's great to see Alan Hansen. We're big fans of him. 9 months after... it was a really bad health scare that he had, and Mark Lawrenson spoke to him and kept us updated on how he was. And he was very poorly, but he's made a full recovery. He looks terrific. He's been given an MBE by Prince William, so many congrats to Alan Hansen. Top man.
Bless him.
We look forward to seeing you 8:20, my friend. For the moment, thank you very much indeed.
Right, still to come. Pat Sharp and Claire Muldoon with the papers. First, if you're in search of some winter sun, here are the forecasts of some of the top European holiday destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Whilst we're enjoying plenty of sunshine across the UK at the moment, it's a cool and blustery picture across the eastern Med, and we have stormy conditions up towards the west as well. So parts of Portugal and Spain really seeing some very unsettled weather with thunderstorms, heavy rain and strong winds over the next few days. Fine across most of Italy, though, with some sunshine, and fairly decent across Greece and Turkey, but cool and blustery in those strong northwesterly winds. Temperatures are set to increase, though, over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
SpaceX latest Starship exploded over the Caribbean Sea.
I was wondering where it had gone.
Yeah, debris could be seen falling back to Earth moments after the Starship launched down from Boca Chica, Texas. The rocket, of course, was unmanned. This was the 8th test flight, and it was only meant to be in the air for an hour. But, importantly, the booster for this rocket was caught with those Mechazilla chopsticks in an impressive display, the third time that's happened.
Those Mechazilla chopsticks? This is Elon Musk's spaceship, isn't it?
Tell.
Starship, sorry.
Yeah.
Planetary scientist Andy Lound could tell us more about this. Andy, so was this a disaster or is this just a little obstacle to success?
Yeah, good morning. Par for the course, really. This is what kind of good afternoon. Par for the course as these things go on. The whole point of the tests, he's going to do 25 tests this year alone. And the interesting thing about this is you actually see the staging of it, where you've got the first stage, the booster, and then the second section, which is the ginormous rocket, which actually lifts off. The first stage, they seem to have got that cinched now, how it works quite well, coming back and landing in the chopsticks, absolutely breathtaking. The second stage, the Starship, was actually the new version of it, which they're testing out completely. And unfortunately, the first testing, the last test failed, and that was due to, it looks like, some frequency issues, which caused a frequency to go too high, which caused damage to the piping, which led to a fuel leak and a fire, which led to destruction. They made a lot of modifications, which led to test 8. And unfortunately, though, it has failed again. So they need to have a look exactly what the issues are which are causing these failures.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Front pages on this Wednesday morning, they look like this. Daily Mail, first of all. Biggest massacre of the century, it says, after triple killer teenager Nicholas Prosper killed his mother and 2 siblings.
Putin rejects Trump's ceasefire. That's the Telegraph, as Russia agrees to halt attacks on energy facilities on the condition Ukraine doesn't rearm.
The Times reports the government's plans to reduce the benefits bill by £5 billion by 2030.
Well, joining us to go through what's making the news is radio and television presenter Pat Sharp and journalist and broadcaster Claire Muldoon. Right, Claire, shall we start with too many exams stress out teenagers?
No, I'm sorry, this does not happen. I'm fed up with education reforms being pinned on stress, anxiety, put at the feet of the children who are taking said exams. That's not the case. They're wanting to dumb down the curriculum. They're wanting to make it easier just to hit their targets so they can get their funding. They teach not to teach, not to vocate, not to, underpin the wonderful things about education. Unfortunately now, teachers and further education staff are teaching children, young adults, to sit and pass exams. We can't have that. It's not working. It's ridiculous. And Bridget Phillipson has got the power to change this, and yet there seems to be so much inertia surrounding this, and she doesn't want to down.
Everybody's frightened of failure. What would you do? If you fail something, everybody loses out. The institution loses out, the pupil loses out, the family loses out. What's the benefit in failing?
It's funding they're afraid of, but also the politicians have a lot to answer for, because I used to lecture, go off to schools and lecture, and what it is it used to be A, B, C, then it was A1, B1, this one, then it was 1, 2, 3, now it's 9, 8, 7, 6. Each subsequent politician comes in and changes the structure of what is seen as success, and then they're all fiddling around with it. I think in the time of the Conservatives there were 10 education secretaries in there.
But look, the example given here is the fact that it says too many exams cause stress for children, right? Hardly any children even write with a pen now. That's the difficulty they're facing as well. It's the change in education. But listen, why is there so many educational boards sending out certificates, sending out exam papers at the time of GCSEs and A-levels? Yes, we're dealing with England at the moment because this is the concept of the education there that will change. Scotland's education is falling off the cliff thanks to the SNP. Wales isn't going much further in terms of advancement. But look, there are far too many exams. Yes, cut that down, get the basics right, make the change from GCSE to A-level much smaller, because there's a huge gap. And for heaven's sake, can we just deal with the fact that a lot of kids aren't academically tuned in. They're not that intelligent in terms of academia. Let them teach vocational skills, for heaven's sake. Let's push that.
They should be teaching more kids how to get a job, how to get a career.
Yes, how to bank, common sense, how to live.
Take Latin out.
No, Latin's great.
You can't take Latin out.
Latin is the base language.
All I
for many
remember is the
languages.
Moa
Mamas and Maltas and Man. Bambas bat, Bamas Baltas band.
There you go.
Considate.
I've never used any of those words on the radio. Never helped me.
No, but you know what? They are the root for many of the words that you actually use.
Exactly.
Well, the thing I believe is a genuine waste of time. I think arithmetic's very valuable, but nothing else in mathematics is of any interest, any view, nor do you ever use it in your life.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But that's not the point of it, though. That is a definite...
But you should have more of a choice about what you actually learn.
But you can. You can.
Well, you can't drop mathematics anywhere.
But you shouldn't have to. If you're taking maths up to a higher level, then trigonometry and algebra and stuff. But people do see things differently when they deal with maths. Maths has got a huge crossover even into the arts.
Yeah.
We see it all the time in the way Da Vinci...
argue with that forever.
What about... Look, I want to move on to the water giants' bid to hike bills, even though we are... potentially saving.
I saw a documentary Monday night on BBC Two about water companies, about Thames Water. It was particularly absolutely frightening. Some brilliant people who work for them, brilliant people, but the shareholders and what they've taken out of those companies, it's an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, I saw the same thing as you. I mean, they're looking at this £3 billion loan deal at the moment to stop them from going bust. They've only got enough money till March the 24th, which is... not long, 5 days.
Yeah.
So, and now these 5 water companies, which don't include Thames Water, it's South East, Southern, Wessex, Northumbrian and Anglian Water, are all hiking their bills, despite the fact that Ofwat is saying you can't do that. So what's the point of these authorities? You know, you've got Ofcom and you've got Ofcom for radio
It's
and
governing
TV.
bodies.
Yeah, the governing bodies, and you've got Ofwat and Ofgem and so on and so forth. What is the point in them existing if people then still go behind their backs and
do their own thing?
Yeah.
Well, also, the water is not a competitive market, so you can't choose who you have your water from. So it's actually something
there's no
that
competition.
You cannot privatise it. It needs to come back into
public hands. It really does. It's a natural resource. It's a human right to have water and fresh water.
Yeah.
My goodness me, what's a lot of the money from Comic Relief gone into funding projects in Africa for to find clean water? We don't even have it. Take it back out of public ownership, put it into public hands, and don't pay another dime in dividends.
And I would also say, you, members of the public, or we, whatever way you want to term that, people are filthy. Absolutely filthy. What they put down their loos, what they put down their sinks, what they do, you've got a lot to answer for as well. But that documentary was worth watching. Pat, I'm not being judgmental here, I'm just asking a question. Have you ever been a smoker?
I've never been a smoker, no, never. I've never smoked, never vaped, don't really drink, probably like a little shandy.
Don't smoke, don't drink.
What do you do? You're such an Adamant fan.
So, my friend, what is it saying? If you live in southern England, you're more likely to smoke than if you are in the north.
Yeah, absolutely. So smoking rates in general have stalled, but now I find that really odd because everybody always thought that it was Northerners who smoked more.
Yeah.
I mean, you sort of talk about
cloth cap.
Yeah, and the Carabao Cup winners, Newcastle, not Newcastle, you have to say it properly now. They would say, I smoke tabs, and they have them under their shirts, sitting here ready to go with their cigarettes. But now apparently it's the Southerners who've gone up slightly as opposed to the Northerners. So I have no particular reason why.
Must be a cost thing because they're so goddamned expensive
They are,
now
aren't
for a
they?
pack of cigarettes.
Were you a smoker or are you a smoker?
I'm not going to answer that. I'm pleading the fifth.
Well, you see, the way I look at it is,
People are watching.
I'm not being judgmental. I mean, it was very fashionable to smoke.
Yeah.
But I just never, like Pat, I never really...
I didn't like the taste.
I used to smoke until somebody told me that I'd get lips like a behind.
Oh,
so
really?
I thought to myself, I don't fancy that.
Oh, Nana!
Got it now.
Yeah, people pay for those lips these days.
Well,
no, not those ones. Not those ones. I'll explain to you.
That put me off immediately, and I literally did not touch another cigarette.
Yeah.
The next morning I woke up with ash mouth and thought, ooh, I don't fancy that.
Well, I suppose that was lucky. It's better than getting all sorts of associated diseases and things like that as well. What else have we got there?
We've got this one, Claire Muldoon, we've got this one about the toxic rhetoric around benefits cuts has stirred up hatred against disabled people.
So we've now been lumbered with a government who have pledged to get rid of food banks. They've thought the assisted dying thing would be a really good bill to put through Parliament. And now what are they doing? In the words of... And this is why I've chosen this story in The Guardian, because it's with disability campaigners. Dame Tanny Gray-Thompson has said, look, she has had people in wheelchairs or with mobility issues being targeted by the public, being said, oh, your benefits are going to be taken away from you. What's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with you. Because that, from the rhetoric, from the government, this is what we're hearing. This is what they're doing. And this is the way it's going to do. And if a government can do this to the most vulnerable in society, what on earth are they going to be capable of doing next?
That's up.
Yes, I'm leaving this one to Claire. This
Anything
is her
to add
story.
there?
Yes.
I just think it's ridiculous. Paul Kissock, Chief Executive of the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, has said the same thing that I've just said. A government that came to office pledging to end the moral scar of food bank use clearly should not be taking steps that could leave disabled people at greater risk of needing to use one. They're pushing people into poverty. There is no rhyme or reason for them to do this. People on PIP or the other disability payment, there's 0% recording of fraud within that benefit.
Oh, I mean, look, I do agree that people who are severely disabled need as much assistance as possible, but there may be people really scamming the system, in particular because a lot of the interviews don't have to be face-to-face and all that. So I do agree, get rid of the fraud if you can, but...
I don't think there is much fraud. I think they could go to save money elsewhere.
I agree with that.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. See you again in 40 minutes' time. Let's get an update on the weather.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M60 in Greater Manchester, there's a lane closed clockwise after an accident between junctions 17 and 18 from Prestwich to Sinister Island. The M4 in Newport's partly blocked eastbound between junctions 25 and 24 from Kyleon to the Coldra, causing delays. On the M1 in Bedfordshire, there's a lane closed southbound. Someone's broken down just after junction 11, the A505 Luton and Dunstable turn. Queues are back to 12, the Toddington and Flitwick turn. In London, the A114 is closed along Woodgrange Road by Wanstead Park Station after an accident last night. And train services are suspended between Gravesend and Ebbsfleet International because of a signalling problem. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You could be the next big winner of the Great British Giveaway, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. Cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Hello there, very good morning to you. A phone call we're going to talk about for the history books.
Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin thrash it out in a 2-hour conversation.
The Russian president makes small concessions, but he has rejected America's demand that all the fighting stops.
Leaving many asking whether Putin has played Trump.
The guns pointing at each other, and a ceasefire without going a little bit further would have been tough. Russia has the advantage, as you know.
Yes, Putin gave President Trump something, but not what he wanted. They did, however, find time to talk about Russia and America playing each other at hockey again.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
There you go, splashdown. The two astronauts who went up for 8 days to space and then spent 9 months there.
Labour announces plans to save £5 billion off benefit bills by targeting disability payments, but is it too little, too late?
And the number of people claiming personal independence payments set to double this decade, from 2 to 4.3 million.
What are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
Netflix hit Adolescence is hailed as one of the best TV dramas of the year, but boy, it looks depressing, doesn't it? Find out why many parents are saying, well, you should watch this because it's a wake-up call.
The John F. Kennedy assassination files are released in full, sending history buffs wild.
And in sport this morning, Thomas Tuchel gets ready for his first England matches since taking over as manager. World Cup qualifiers against, well, the powerhouses of Albania and Latvia this weekend. Tennis is heading for civil war, with Novak Djokovic's Players' Union filing lawsuits against the governing bodies. And the ex-Bulgarian footballer, announced as dead, who's actually alive, has spoken. And he's still alive.
It's a cold start out there this morning, but temperatures are set to rise over the next few days. Find out just how warm it's going to get in your full forecast coming up.
2 minutes after 8 o'clock, a very good morning to you, however you're watching, wherever you're listening. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Nana Aquia, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Now, I'm a bit irritated today. So there's two secret files that have been released, one on Prince Harry and his visa claim and getting citizenship in the USA. And what do we learn from it? Nothing. Nothing, because it's all redacted. And then the biggest one of all, history. So Donald Trump says, yes, we can see the JFK files. We have nothing to hide there, whatever. It's all redacted. There's nothing. We don't learn anything new from this. Now, you've studied, you've been like me, you've been fascinated like this since you were a kid.
Yeah, I have. I mean, let's be honest, is there likely to be files somewhere that's actually saying Grassy Knoll and Magic Bullet?
Giving you the truth.
And that it was the mafia and that it was to do with J. Edgar Hoover or anything else? I don't believe all that stuff anyway. I honestly don't.
Well, how do you explain that it wasn't JFK's brain that was in the post-mortem? It was a different brain. His brain was substituted.
You know what? That's the first I've heard of that.
Well, you see, I thought
it was a different brain. How did they know? How do they know it wasn't his brain?
Well, they may have known what his brain was like.
Well, the doctor in Dallas who was there to do the post-mortem because it was his area.
Yes.
Wasn't allowed to do the post-mortem.
That's right, because they wanted to fly him back to Washington, right?
CIA or the FBI, whatever, took the body away.
Right.
And they had time to do whatever they wanted, and doctor anything the way they wanted. But, I mean, and there definitely were two shooters. There were two shooters involved in this.
I don't believe that.
Because of the magic bullet.
No, the puff of smoke from the grassy knoll.
Yeah, but the thing, also, the grassy knoll was so small. People think it's a great big, very small area. I don't think a puff of smoke. Are you talking about the Zapruder film? This is the man who filmed everything on his little video camera or little Super 8, whatever it was.
He's made an absolute fortune.
I bet he hasn't, as you would.
I don't know. Did he? Did he actually make it?
Must have. It's the only footage that exists.
But back then in '63, you know, it's like, well, we're going to have that off you straight away. This Zapruder film. I honestly do. Maybe I'm being extremely naive. That's how I'm. But for everything that I've seen, everything I've read, I think that Lee Harvey Oswald, how about this? Actually did it.
What?
And did it alone
with an M1 carbine. you know, that he had to load. It was
He
a
was
manual
a trained. He was a trained.
No, he was a soldier. He wasn't a trained marksman.
He was. He was a marksman.
Well, that was superlative shooting, if that was the case.
Well, some people are a good shot.
Yeah.
No, you'd have to be
Thanks,
lucky.
Nana, you're with me.
You'd have to be lucky.
It's all a bit of
I think you're both wrong. He hadn't got the technology right. He was too far away. There were two shooters. One, a lot of people think it was the driver who was driving JFK's car, turned around and shot him in the head.
But there's the magic bullet theory. They're saying that it was the governor, wasn't it, and it hit him. But apparently everything was what it actually did make sense, and it did have to come from that direction.
Well, it hasn't answered my questions, and I would look at it and I would think there was a big chance here to tell people. But as you say, Paul, who's going to admit, if there was a conspiracy, who's going to admit to it and what records are they going to be?
And if there is, I always wonder, how many people are involved in cover-ups like that? Exactly. Someone somewhere
break ranks
is going to blab. Someone's going to say something. There's going to be the deep throat that's in the car park, just like in Watergate. But nobody says anything.
You know who Deep Throat was?
He was a high-ranking governor, wasn't he? He was a high-ranking member of.
You know who he was? You don't. He was George Bush Senior.
George Bush Senior was the Deep Throat.
Was Deep Throat?
I didn't know that.
George Bush Senior.
Really?
Yeah.
In the car park.
In the car park, underground.
With the grassy knoll.
Do you know that inspired me to be a journalist?
Watergate.
All the President's Men.
Oh.
So were you thinking, it's Woodward and Bernstein, so you were more thinking Robert Redford?
I was. But I did meet
Dustin Hoffman.
I did meet Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah?
And
did you tell him?
He asked me to come and see him in his dressing room.
Yeah.
And he was there. And he was standing in his underpants in his dressing room.
Of course he was.
And I thought to myself, so here we are. This is all going to be...
Why did he want to see you in his dressing room?
In his underpants.
I just wanted to talk to him about the interview we were going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And could you look him in the eye and it was all a bit bizarre?
I had to look him in the eye. It was better looking in the eye than elsewhere.
I think so. Than in the
quite
underpants.
small?
He is quite small. Very, very good, Paul.
2'5" he is. It's unbelievably small.
Thank you very much indeed. What conspiracy will people make between Putin and Trump? That's the big question.
Yeah, our big top story. Vladimir Putin has rejected an immediate ceasefire deal during a 2-hour phone conversation with Donald Trump.
So there will be a 30-day truce on energy facilities, not touching them, not harming them. That was agreed on the condition that Ukraine doesn't rearm during the pause. What will Russia do? That's another question. President Trump spoke to Fox News about this.
We didn't talk about aid, actually. We didn't talk about aid at all. We talked about a lot of things, but aid was never discussed.
Well, soon after, explosions and air sirens rang over Kyiv as locals were warned to take cover.
Well, let's discuss this further. GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster with this, Catherine. And your analysis, your take, you come away from this and you reflect on this phone call. What do you think?
Well, yes, it's the second of these 1.5-hour phone calls that Putin and Trump have had in just over a month. It was the first one that blindsided Europe a few weeks back and led to everything that followed. And there's very little detail for a long call, and the recollections, let's say, seem to vary. But what we do know is that Donald Trump didn't get what he wanted, and that he didn't get the 30-day ceasefire agreement that they've had from Ukraine for about a week now. But he did get something. He got this agreement to not tack energy infrastructure for 30 days. That's something. I think what's going on here is that basically Putin has given Trump just enough that Trump can say, oh, look, you know, we're making progress. This is going in the right direction. But of course, it's disappointing that it didn't go further. Now, Zelensky has said that this basically proves that Russia doesn't want peace, isn't serious for peace, because Ukraine have agreed to an unconditional ceasefire, Russia trying to attach all sorts of ifs and buts and conditions to it. So let's see what happens. But I think our Prime Minister, spoke to Zelensky last night. Apparently they discussed, quote, progress that President Trump had made towards a ceasefire. worth saying that we've got this coalition of the willing military leaders meeting tomorrow in England to discuss practically how it might work in terms of troops and other support that they could give when there is some sort of long-lasting peace deal. It feels like that's quite a way off at the moment. But I think it is worth saying that, you know, before Donald Trump was elected, we had 2.5 years of this war. The line from Ukraine's allies were always, we are with Ukraine for as long as it takes. But we didn't hear anything about a negotiation or about an end to the war. And of course, the war has to end. And of course, it has to end with a negotiation. As soon as Trump was elected, I was in Hungary at the European political community meeting. The conversation changed immediately. So that is something. But yes, I think Donald Trump behind the scenes probably a little bit disappointed.
Catherine Forster, thank you very much. That's Catherine Forster. She's there in our Westminster studio. Now, have you sprung into action yet with our spring giveaway? It's your chance to win a fabulous designer handbag, 2 highly sought-after designer watches, and an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash.
It's a lot of money, and it could come your way.
Spring has sprung with a great British giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
We're going to talk again about the JFK assassination all those years ago in the early 60s. And joining us in the studio, spokesperson for Republicans overseas, UK, is Jennifer Ewing. Jennifer, good to see you. And Paul Coit is here in the studio, and Paul, like me, has a big interest in it. And I don't know about you. Do you have an interest in it?
A little bit. I'm not super...
But you see, I am old enough to remember, Paul, my family standing around the TV set, very small TV set, black and white and whatever, crying.
Well, in Ireland?
Cousins
in
Ireland.
JFK.
We had a picture. We had a picture of the Sacred Heart on the wall, and we had a picture of JFK and Jacqueline Kennedy on the wall as well. And the reason, Jennifer, being that he was the first Irish Catholic president. And it was massive. It was absolutely massive. It was like religious adoration as well. And I do remember all these people, cousins, aunties, my mother, everything, just consoling each other, crying at all this.
No, absolutely. And I remember in the lead up to the sort of Trump election, especially when Bobby Kennedy Jr. was coming on the scene, asking people who were alive at that time back in my home state of California what they thought of this. And they did not want these. A lot of people didn't want it released because of what you're talking about. It brought back a very painful memory, in the United States. And it's something, even if you weren't alive at that time, we remember growing up. Everybody remembers where they were when that happened, just, as you pointed out. What's the most interesting thing about the release of these 80,000 pages of documents overnight, so I don't think anyone's had a chance to go over them, but I guess they're there for people who want to look at it, is it's just a continuation of the theme of the Trump administration, which is transparency, right? We're not going to say, hey, this is too sensitive information, the people don't get to know about it. So this has been, whether it's things playing out on the internet or in front of live television, this is something that's really important to this administration.
But he promised to release all the outstanding records. But
our point is this is not transparent,
isn't it?
This is...
Oh, your point is that it's not...
No, he promised in his first term.
I mean, the Trump action is transparent, yes. But did he know that you weren't then going to be able to read or see anything, because that's what's basically happening?
Because it's somewhat redacted,
Yes, yeah,
and
yeah.
because people are commenting on the internet that it's quite smudged, so you can't read it. Now, I think that's probably beyond his control. So if he went in there thinking, okay, these are going to be clean documents, and it's going to be absolutely everything that somebody, you know, call it the bureaucracy, whatever, has said, no, this is never getting released. Perhaps. So there will be people out there this morning, to your point, that do not think this is transparent enough. There will be other people that say, oh, well, read between the lines. This is the new information. And then, of course, other people who say it's a big fat.
I'm amazed though that you say that people in the States, some people are thinking, well, actually, you know, we don't want to talk about it because it still hurts us. There's so much that has come out since then. If we talk about Marilyn Monroe and the other stories about Kennedy's, even to Chappaquiddick and Bobby, etc., there's a lot there, isn't there? So surely wouldn't people be interested to know actually what happened instead of thinking, we'd rather not know?
Well, I'll tell you, I think my generation would. It sounds like you would as well.
Yeah.
But the older generation, you know, they did not live their lives on social media. They did not live their lives where everybody is free to see what everybody else is doing. And I'm just saying, it surprised me.
But the Oliver Stone film, there was no social media even when that was there. That was only sort of 20, 30 years
I know. I'm just saying, the people I spoke to, over 70 years old, you know, were saying this is such a painful thing that we'd rather just not go back there.
Wow.
Again, very anecdotal. I did not do a study, but it surprised me when I heard it a few years ago.
All right, listen, I want
The thing about it, Jennifer, is that it's such a sorry story. So sad, such a tragedy. The more you go into it about how his head exploded over his wife's knees, and, you know, she's covered in this brain matter, whatever. His body's taken to the hospital, not kept alive. They didn't pronounce him dead.
She's on the plane.
Yeah.
Well, FDR is actually signed in. I mean, LBJ, I should say, signed in. Well, she's still in the dress. I mean, it's just the whole story. It's incredible.
And LBJ's role in all of this as well is very, very interesting, you know, when you talk and look at that, and how the whole main thing was to get Kennedy's body out of Dallas and back to Washington as well. But it's so sad. No wonder there's been so many films and things about it.
He was good looking as well. Not that if you, but
it is, you're right, because there was the film star looks. It all went with the whole Hollywood
the Camelot,
reception.
right? It was Camelot was very glamorous.
Absolutely.
Presidency, as you said, the first Catholic American. So, it was a big deal. Very glamorous wife. And, again, even if you weren't alive during that time, you remember that.
Yeah, and very quickly, the Trump call.
Sure.
You tell us a bit about what happened there and what do we know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like everything else, it depends who you ask, whether it was a success or not. You can look at every different paper will have a headline. As far as we're concerned, it was a success. I mean, 6 months ago, nobody was talking about peace at all. Trump ran on ending this war. He does not like war. And I don't think we would have thought that a 90-minute conversation between these two with a partial ceasefire, including infrastructure and energy, would come out. And now the next step is they'll be hashing out more details in the Middle East. I think that's the location of that meeting is not random. I think Trump definitely wants to pull President Putin into perhaps some discussions with regards to what's going on around the Middle East. But this can only be seen as a good thing because the war needs to end.
Only Putin did start bombing pretty much moments after it. But anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having
Jennifer
me.
Ewing there from Republicans Overseas. Thank you very much indeed. Coming into the newsroom on this Wednesday morning, this is what we've got for you. The Israeli Prime Minister says fighting with Hamas has resumed in full force. That's after the ceasefire, which had been in place since January. Since then, airstrikes on Gaza have killed more than 400 people. Currently, Israel believes 59 citizens are being held, with 24 thought to be alive.
And splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams have returned to Earth in a spectacular fashion, splashing down off the coast of Florida. And that is, of course, after spending 9 months in space. It was just an 8-day journey that ended up being 9 months. They returned home on a rescue mission run by SpaceX.
Summer seems definitely to be on the way. We're set for the hottest day of the year tomorrow. The Met Office says temperatures could reach up to 21 degrees. Best of the weather will be in the south of the country, but Glasgow's not too far south, and it's going to be very, very good.
Right, well, let's get a full update with your weather with Tom Morgan.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Blue skies and plenty of sunshine on offer once again today, but it will be a cold start, and we have got a fairly widespread frost this morning, particularly across more central and northern parts of the UK. But plenty of sunshine across the board. Just a little bit more in the way of wispy high clouds spreading up from the south as we go through the middle to latter part of this afternoon. And perhaps just one or two very isolated showers, but a much sunnier day for Northern Ireland and for northern and western parts of Scotland compared to Tuesday. And look at these temperatures, a little bit higher than of late, so perhaps 16 or 17 degrees in parts of England and Wales. And even further north, it should be a fine end to the day as well. A bit more in the way of cloud developing as we go through into this evening, though. And as you can see on the graphics, just a small chance of catching a very isolated light shower, but most places will stay dry. And temperatures through this evening's rush hour still 12, 13 degrees in the south. A little bit colder about across Northern Ireland, across parts of Scotland. Temperatures dipping away fairly quickly into single figures here through this evening underneath those clearing skies. And we will see temperatures fall once again below freezing as we go through the course of tonight. But those clearing skies maintain the low temperatures across Scotland and Northern Ireland and Northern England through tonight. Just the chance of the odd shower clipping parts of Shetland and Orkney. Underneath those clearer skies, a widespread frost to come tonight. Temperatures perhaps -5 or -6 in the rural spots in Scotland and Northern England, but not as cold across the south. Temperatures here holding up above freezing, and we will see it generally staying frost-free. So through tomorrow then, another pretty fine day across the board. Lots of sunshine out there for all parts of the UK. There will be a fair bit of high-level cloud coming and going at times, but that shouldn't disappoint. And for most of us, we'll see plenty of sunshine. Just a very small chance of a very isolated light shower in the south. But temperatures tomorrow up to 18 or 19 degrees.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Patrick Christie's Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
What's your take on this then? Because my understanding is that you feel a bit disadvantaged as a result of the CGI characters here.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's taken away from people like myself who are professional actors, and these roles are made specifically for us. You know, we've got dwarfism, and it can boost our career, make money to pay for our families, and it's just an opportunity that's taken away from us because they're afraid of stereotyping or being derogatory, which is absolutely not.
Yeah, and this is not just in this film, it's actually happening quite regularly, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, because it came out a few years ago with Peter Dinklage saying that it was being stereotyping, having dwarfs playing dwarfs for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And it's really wrong for people to say that. He's made his career, he started off doing that, and he's made a very big career out of it, and you have to start somewhere, and I think this is a big stepping stone for a lot of people with dwarfism.
Yeah, and look, I suppose in any acting, in a way, like, you know, if someone is playing the character of a very tall person in a biopic, you would presumably pick a very tall person.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't really see why it's that controversial.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, it's absolutely pointless. I don't know what they're trying to get at, but I think it's this woke culture. They're afraid of upsetting someone, and, you know, if we didn't want to do it, we wouldn't do it, but it's very well paid, it's a lot of fun, and it's, you know, it's what we love to do.
And you have actually been in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs?
Yeah,
previously.
I've been in it twice for pantomime.
Fantastic. And that was you, and you just enjoyed that. I mean, that was presumably that gave work to quite a lot of actors with dwarfism.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so many actors around the UK and around the world that do it, and it's so much fun. You know, the kids have a great experience, and it's really important for them to be educated, because then they understand that there's different people with types of dwarfism, so they're not, you know, they're not afraid when they see someone like that, because some people grow up and they're like, whoa, what's up with that person? But they start to understand the differences.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, there's a big TV programme which is getting lots of publicity at the moment, and it's running on Netflix, and it's called Adolescence.
Police! What are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
He's a good kid. Jamie, I want you to listen carefully.
What's going on?
I'm going to start off with asking you.
Do you know a girl called Katie Leonard?
Billed as a why-done-it rather than a who-done-it, Adolescence explores why a teenage boy would end up murdering a schoolgirl. Well, GB News' entertainment editor Alex Davies is here to tell us more. So that's obviously kind of the plot. A young boy, how old is he? He murders a...
So he's 13 in the series. It opens within the first few minutes. The police knock down his door, arrest him. It's a very ordinary family, played amazingly by Stephen Graham. This young lad's called Owen Cooper. This is his first ever on-screen role. He's superb. He's brilliant. And he's arrested. The first episode is shot in one take. Every episode is shot in one take. So there's no room for error, no nothing. And you see all the nitty-gritty, all the monotony combined with all of the real powerful stuff that he's trying to get across. The first episode is his arrest. He's taken to the police station and we learn what he's charged with. And then each episode delves into the impact that the arrest has on the family. We see an episode dedicated to Jamie's interactions with a psychologist and then how it impacts his school friends as well. And the real overriding theme of it is, like you just mentioned, it's not a whodunit. It's not like a rip-roaring, neck-breaking crime drama. It's a real whodunit, and it tries to delve into why a young boy would take such violent, horrific actions against a girl of his age.
Yeah, well, let's go to Dr. Charlotte Armitage now. Charlotte's a psychologist and psychotherapist, and she joins us this morning from Wakefield. Charlotte, interesting stuff for you. I mean, the stuff you deal with in your day-to-day work as well. Did it answer any questions for you?
I mean, to be honest, I think it just highlighted what we're dealing with as a society at the moment, is that children are spending a lot of time alone in their bedrooms with access to the internet. There's a great scene in it where the parents say, well, we thought he was safe, he was at home, we didn't realise we were doing anything wrong. And it does show how someone from, you know, what you'd consider, say, a standard family setup can be easily radicalised and manipulated by the online world without anybody really understanding or realising it. And I think that's what it really highlighted to me.
So why did he do it, though, out of interest? Because I haven't seen it. I don't know whether I'll be bothered to see it. It seems a bit gloomy. I mean, was it not a little bit depressing, Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, it's realistic, and boys are being groomed into misogynistic views and ideas online. It's the Andrew Tate effect. We're still seeing ripples of that through society. But schools tell me, even primary schools will tell me, that young boys are using misogynistic language to talk about women, and when they address it with them, they don't understand why that's wrong. So that it's seeping into them at a young age through social media without them really even being aware of it, and without us as parents being necessarily aware of it as well. So it's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. I mean, schools now have the powers to refer children to PREVENT, which is counter-terrorism safeguarding arm, and for extreme misogyny. So that used to just be for cases of terrorism.
How old can you refer someone to PREVENT, though, as a child?
Through the teen years, so secondary schools have the power to do that.
Alex, it's interesting, getting Charlotte's professional perspective on things there. But you will know, sitting in this newsroom, these are stories that, unfortunately, we cover. School murders, teenagers involved in these awful crimes, and all of us saying, why would he have done that? What was behind all this? You feel you got some answers here, did you?
Well, Stephen Graham, who co-wrote this with Jack Thorne, who's done loads of British TV shows, he said he was inspired to create this drama because he had seen so many instances in the media. He read one news story about a poor girl being killed by a young lad in one end of the country, and just a week later he saw it at another end of the country. And he wanted to delve into the psyche of these young men and why they were doing this. The message that the series has really tried to get across about this manosphere, they call it, and the toxic misogynistic culture has really resonated with parents and things like this. But with the people it really tries to break through to, the people involved in these communities, just from me having a look online and just seeing the general consensus, it really doesn't seem to have infiltrated. And I think one of the main reasons for that is because it's a fictional drama, but it name-checks Andrew Tate.
Well, that's what I was going to come to. Is it fair to kind of blame him? Because by name-checking him, you're attributing a level of blame towards him, which I actually think is pretty unfair.
In my opinion, for this fictional drama, I think he should be held accountable. He's a self-proclaimed misogynist. Some of the stuff he spouts is pretty abhorrent.
But he's never murdered anybody in his video.
This is
not ever advocated that.
So this is why I'm saying that the people that you're really trying to get this message to, and you really are trying to get these incels, so-called, to sort of understand the damage that is being done to them. What has happened is, by name-checking him in a fictional drama, a lot of the reaction we're seeing from people in these communities, instead of understanding the message or trying to understand, they defend him, and they see it as a personal attack on him.
And how do you see it, Charlotte, when you look at this and when you've watched this? Do you see it purely as entertainment, or is it more than that?
It's more than that. I mean, it's bringing to light and to, I suppose, the media, the things that are really going on, that schools are seeing, that mental health professionals are seeing. And I think what it highlights in terms of incels here with this young boy is that incels are very lonely, lonely boys, men who have low self-esteem. The little boy, when he's in the episode where he's being interviewed, he talks about that. I'm ugly, people don't like me. He talks about things like that. So it just highlights actually people who it's people who have low self-esteem, who maybe don't have the structure and support network around them, that are the ones that are easy to be manipulated and groomed into this kind of ideology. And it's becoming, to one extent or another, normal for young boys to develop misogynistic views about women because of social media. Because even if you're going from the less extreme end of it, there's still misogynistic content online about women that's seeping into the minds of young, impressionable boys.
All right,
Charlotte Armitage, doctor, thank you very much indeed. Live there from Wakefield. Charlotte's a psychologist and a psychotherapist. And Alex Davis, where can people see this?
So there's 4 episodes. They're all available on Netflix now. It is a hard watch, but it is, in my opinion, a very, very good watch.
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew's our showbiz editor.
Right, now, if you're travelling to work or school, here is your traffic and travel update. And don't forget to stay with us on digital and on radio.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M65 in Lancashire is partly blocked westbound by an accident at junction 3 west of Blackburn. The M4 in Newport is partly blocked eastbound between junctions 25 and 24 from Caerleon to the Coldra, causing delays. A couple of things in London. The A114 is closed along Woodgrange Road by Wanstead Park Station after an accident last night. The A213 is closed along Newlands Park in Sydenham for emergency repairs. On the M26 in Kent, there are queues approaching the M25, and on the M5 in Devon, there's a lane closed southbound after an accident at junction 28 at Columpton, causing delays.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Here's Paul, and you're going to pay tribute to Dan Burn, the League Cup hero for
Yes,
Newcastle.
Well, the international break, England are playing, and Dan Burn, the defender there for Newcastle United, that scored the goal in the Carabao Cup.
What height is he? 6'7" or something? Or?
I think he's that tall, is he?
He is?
He's probably about my height, about 6'5". I think it's probably similar sort of height.
Yeah.
England
About 5'5", isn't he?
5'5". Thanks, Dan. England versus Albania. Friday, 7:45. England versus Latvia. Which is the one you're looking forward to, Nana? Is it the Latvia game or the Albania game?
I think neither of them are.
OK, that's
rather
fine.
Stick pins in my
Let's
eyes.
hear from Dan Burn, shall we? Dan Burn, who was picked by Thomas Tuchel, and he's still on a high, we'd imagine, after what happened in the Carabao Cup for Newcastle winning that. Here comes Dan.
First of all, he said I was very unprofessional for not being in bed for 10 o'clock, so so I apologise for that. And then he said that he had been ringing everyone who hadn't made the squad. So again, I didn't think I was making it. And he just said he needed to sort of end the day on a good note. And that he wanted us to be in the squad, and just to sort of do what he felt my strengths were, which I'd explained when I spoke to him. I said exactly the same to Eddie Howe when signed for Newcastle. I thought I could offer just as much off the pitch as I do on. I feel like I'm a leader on and off the pitch. I feel as if I just sort of sit into that role. I know it's going to be tough coming into here, knowing all these international players, and I've never done that before, but that's how I feel like I can best help the team, and that's what I'd want to do.
You know what? There's footballers that you see around, all flash, all money. You know the type. But he is, I don't know whether it's because it's a bit of a throwback to what we used to like back in the day. But he's a proper defender. Seems a decent guy.
But
you wish him all the success.
He's also 32 years of age. I mean, he's getting this when a lot of players are ending their careers.
Yeah. So he's still got he's still got a World Cup in him because that's still not that far away. So I think it's really good, and I think he's done really well for himself, and I'm really glad that.
Well done to him. Well done to him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tennis, getting nasty there.
Yeah, this is interesting. This is Novak Djokovic's Players' Union, which is called the Professional Tennis Players Association that they formed. Now, see what you make on this. They've launched legal action and accused the governing bodies. You've got the ATP, you've got the WTA, which is the women's one, of running what they call a corrupt, abusive and illegal system. Now, there's things they're saying: abuse, silence and exploit players through monopolistic control. They're forced to play in 100-degree heat and finish at 3 a.m. Inferior tennis balls, make injuries, 11-month schedule. Now, you might look at that and think, well, these are highly paid individuals. What are they complaining about?
No, I can see straight away what they're complaining about. And it's a TV schedule. TV dictates everything and the times that everything is there. And I think the lad has a point.
Well, he does, but it's also when you look at lesser tennis players further down the chain. Now, these are professionals that will go out to tournaments. I was talking, there's a chap called Marcus Willis. Now, Marcus I spoke to a couple of years ago, and I really learnt a lot from him. And he made his name. He's a British player, and he played against Roger Federer at Wimbledon in 2014. So you think, oh, well, he's made it. And so even if you are, for example, if you're in the top 100 footballers in the world, you will be a very, very rich person.
Yeah.
If you're in the top 100 tennis players in the world, all you're going to be is a jobbing tennis player. So you pay money to enter a tournament. That costs you money. You've got to do all the travel. They even talk about one of the players that slept in his car, and he said, I was one of the lucky ones. So it's only the very, very top amount of players that get all the money, they get all the adulation. Other tennis players are travelling around the whole time. It's actually a really tough life. And Marcus is now a bricklayer. Gave it all up to be a bricklayer, and he was like the second best tennis player in Britain.
But that's life. That's life. Only a small proportion of people get all the money. It's replicated in every single industry.
It is life.
Wherever you look at it.
If I said to you, now be honest with me, if I said to you the top 5 tennis players in Britain, the top 50 tennis players in the world, you would think they had a charmed life, wouldn't you?
The top 50, probably, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily true.
I think
probably even
is
higher
the
than
top
that.
50. But it's like anything. I think a lot of these players, they really, you have to work hard for the thing that you want. And if you're passionate about it, then you put in the hours, and in most cases, if you do that, you get somewhere, and then you get paid.
I think so, but again, what we're saying is that it's different sports. There's more space. There's more people that are making that sort of money, and it is very tough, and it's a huge talent that they would have, and some of them aren't rewarded for it.
I think they're just becoming a bit too expectant. Back in the day, the football players literally got paid very little, and they were...
know, but it's horses for courses. That was it then,
Well, Charlie Hull
is
a golfer.
She is.
Isn't she? And,
she is number 10 in the world.
Yeah.
And Nana, I think she does quite well for herself. She's quite handsomely paid, I'll have you know.
She is. She's got a few quid to flutter, gamble or give away. Tell us more.
Well, shall we have I do see a couple of pictures of Charlie Hull on the course. Now, she's quite well known as a very good golfer, but... There we are. She loves a fag.
She's a chain smoker.
She is. It's not really the sort of sporty thing you would see these days when you talk about old footballers that like to have a smoke. She goes round and she likes to smoke while she's playing golf.
Why do we not see it in football anymore? Have the sponsors stepped in?
well, stepped into golf.
Smoking in football?
Yeah, we used to see footballers. We'd take the 1978 World Cup, whatever. They were all Argentina, Holland, whatever. They all stand smoking.
Generally, it's not done.
It's for your lungs.
It doesn't happen. I think it's banned by the sponsors now.
Banned what? They're not allowed to smoke?
Yes.
I think that I've known footballers that do, but they certainly keep it.
No, but you can't. But you
can't advertise. Yeah.
No, you used to see it totally. They used to sit in the dugout smoking and whatever.
Yeah.
And now you wouldn't see that at all.
You wouldn't see that.
No.
Because also the way sports moved on, and they know that it's bad.
And we know more about smoking. It's health issues. She's only walking on the golf course all the time. Good exercise, but it's not pure aerobic exercise.
Oh, I don't know.
It isn't really.
Well, anyway, look, the good news is Charlie has decided to quit smoking, so she's had a 10...
I think she's on fire.
She's what her golf is, or she's literally on fire?
I think she's literally on fire.
Anyway, she said that she's going to quit smoking. Have a look at this. Here we go.
Today, I've made a decision. I'm going to stop smoking. I'm going to give them a try now, yeah? And I'm going to do a 10 grand bet with you. I get no money in it. 10 grand bet. If I pick up a cigarette in the next 2 months, I'll give you 10 grand and I'm shaking on that. Deal? Okay?
I'm going to have to record it 24 hours a day.
Yeah, and no, I promise you I won't, and you can chuck them in the bin for me.
Fair play to her.
She's having a bad hole on the 16th. She's hit one in the woods.
She's probably thought about the effect of the sunlight and the cigarette smoke on her skin. She'll look very haggard in a few years' time.
There we are. You tell her. You give her the advice. There we are.
But there's a lot of things people do on the golf course. There are a lot of smokers, which is a bit irritating. I don't think... And
the cigars.
And the other thing, people who relieve themselves.
Oh, no.
On the golf course?
Stop it.
Hold on, but in the woods is all right, isn't it? In the woods is OK.
In the woods would be all right, but there's a lot of people I see on the tees and things that do that.
What, pee on the tee? Never.
You get hit by a golf ball.
Really?
It would be quite funny. Good. Well, it wouldn't probably be funny, but you probably deserve it.
Thank you very much.
I don't know where you play, mister. I want to see that in my golf club.
Get to my age, you will be like that now. Right, Claremont doing Pat Sharp. They got the papers next after you get where the sun is going to be around Europe.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst we're enjoying plenty of sunshine across the UK at the moment, it's a cool and blustery picture across the eastern Med, and we have stormy conditions out towards the west as well. So parts of Portugal and Spain really seeing some very unsettled weather with thunderstorms, heavy rain and strong winds over the next few days. Fine across most of Italy, though, with some sunshine, and fairly decent across Greece and Turkey, but cool and blustery in those strong northwesterly winds. Temperatures are set to increase, though, over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Victims of an absolutely horrific and heartbreaking crime. Exactly 1 month ago, their home was broken into by machete-wielding thugs. Well, RAF officer Jason Shutt and his partner Sashi had £20,000 of cash and valuables taken from their property in Ruislip, West London, while Sashi was being held at Machete Point. Now, the armed gang also stole their beloved pug dog, Ozzy, you can see now on your screens. And the family said they aren't focused on getting the money, the jewellery or the watches back. They just want Ozzy back.
I followed myself through into the dining room area when I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. And at this point, they told me not to move. They had a machete around my neck, turned me and put me up against the bottom banisters. And while this was carrying on, the machete was still around my neck.
He's like a live teddy bear. He was just so cuddly, and he was so kind. He was like a human, but obviously as a dog. He was just amazing, and yeah.
We can see that dog on the screens there now, and the dog is now missing, and you obviously dearly would love to get Ozzy back. What can people do to help? Is there any distinctive marks, anything that may help the public out there to assist you in this noble search?
Yeah, well, he's got a scar on his back leg. Obviously, he'll reply to his name, Ozzy.
You can see on screen there, if you're watching at home, there is that distinctive mark. It looks like the back rear leg.
Yeah,
so the back right flank leg there got that scar. Beautiful pug. And I believe the local community have chipped in. They're trying their best to help you as well.
All over social media. They've been great.
GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, let's talk to Claire Muldoon and Pat Sharp. They've got the stories making the newspapers today. And here's an interesting thing. We're getting this reported in the Telegraph and the Financial Times as well. And this is that council houses should be set aside, Claire, for who?
Well, no, they shouldn't be set aside for, right? Tube drivers, they are saying they should skip the queue to get one. No, they shouldn't, because there's families that are homeless at the moment, right? There are teachers on less than £70,000,
Well,
right?
make them available to all of those people.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it should be. But tube drivers are saying we want to skip the queue. We want priority. We want to get there first.
But I think
get
they
your
should
train
be there
first, mate, and then you can maybe talk about
if there's going to be
skipping
no
a queue.
drivers, they're not going to be on time for work in the morning, they're not going to be able to live in London, what's the point?
Well, that then needs to address the bulging issue of too many people living in London and not enough housing stock, or the housing stock is such that it's so prohibitively expensive that people are pushed out. There's a form of economic cleansing, and I'm not a fan of that.
There should be more social
Of course there
housing,
should be.
Of course there should. So I'm not against this. Pat, are you against it or not?
No, not at all.
What, skipping queues?
The tube drivers should skip the queue?
No, I'm saying I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry. You must be riding the Hammersmith and City line then, because I'm straight on the Piccadilly.
Why shouldn't they skip queues?
Because at the end of the day, they should be like everybody else, as Claire said.
But they're not like everybody else. I think those jobs are essential. Those are essential
No
jobs.
one's saying they're not essential.
Everything's essential.
Yes, but then I just don't see what you're arguing
Do you know
for.
what,
If they're pushing to skip the queue, why don't you say, yeah, you can skip the queue, and incidentally, nurses and teachers, you can skip the queue as well.
But everyone's on the queue, so you're skipping each other. So there's no parity there.
No, they shouldn't.
There really isn't.
Just first come, first serve, really. That's it, really.
Well, no, I think that people's needs have to trump that.
Well, we can do it on whatever
Don't say
basis,
Trump.
but not that. Right, let's move on. This one about roundabouts. Pat, have you ever had a little driving incident on a roundabout?
Well, no, I haven't myself, but apparently, according to the AA, 14,000 of their members who've done this survey had a near miss, and on a roundabout last year, 25% happened. So roundabouts are the worst place for having a near miss, and they're followed by junctions and car parks. Car parks 11%, junctions 9%, but roundabouts 20%. So when you're going round a roundabout, hopefully the right way now, you are in the more chance of having.
But Pat, here's what I do when it comes to car parks. I park in an isolated spot. Of
course you do.
A long way away from the front door of the supermarket.
Same here.
Now, anybody that's ever been with me, particularly any female, has had an objection to that.
I agree.
But I don't get a dent on my car.
You're doing it because you don't want someone to dent your car.
Yes.
Exactly. I do the same thing.
I bet you 9 times out of 10, by the time you get back to said car, some other dopey person has parked right next to you.
Another dopey person?
Because that
what are you saying about Eamonn?
It'll be another man. It'll be another man. Listen, we're
a
not
man who
silly.
couldn't multitask.
So do you like squeezing into a small hole?
No, I don't. No, I do not.
So what do you do?
I don't think squeezing into small holes is very good at all.
Why don't you do what I do then? Why don't you park a long way away?
That's what I do. When I did drive, that's what I used to do. Go into the car park away from every other person, because I had a big car at the time, and let 9 times out of 10 guaranteed there'd be loads of places elsewhere, and yet there'd be someone parked next to me.
Well, my car's got all the bumps, dinks and everything. It's done 200,000 miles. It's a little Citroen C1, and I can fit into every space. And in fact, I think the others avoid me because I obviously don't really care that much.
Have you had a near miss? Have you had a near miss on a roundabout, Nana?
No, never.
No,
no
there you go.
no,
well, you're not in the...
What's the city? Do you know the answer to this? What's the city with the most roundabouts?
It's got to be Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I would have said East Kilbride, actually.
No,
but...
Boulevards as well, they've got.
Boulevards.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Now, here's another very, very controversial issue here.
We'll discuss it after the weather with Tom Morgan.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Blue skies and plenty of sunshine on offer once again today, but it will be a cold start, and we have got a fairly widespread frost this morning, particularly across more central and northern parts of the UK. But plenty of sunshine across the board. Just a little bit more in the way of wispy high clouds spreading up from the south as we go through the middle to latter part of this afternoon. And perhaps just 1 or 2 very isolated showers, but a much sunnier day for Northern Ireland and for northern and western parts of Scotland compared to Tuesday. And look at these temperatures, a little bit higher than of late, so perhaps 16 or 17 degrees in parts of England and Wales, and even further north it should be a fine end to the day as well. A bit more in the way of cloud developing as we go through into this evening, though. And as you can see on the graphics, just a small chance of catching a very isolated light shower, but most places will stay dry. And temperatures through this evening's rush hour still 12, 13 degrees in the south. A little bit colder about across Northern Ireland, across parts of Scotland. Temperatures dipping away fairly quickly into single figures here through this evening underneath those clearing skies. And we will see temperatures fall once again below freezing as we go through the course of tonight. But those clearing skies maintain the low temperatures across Scotland and Northern Ireland and Northern England through tonight. Just the chance of the odd shower clipping parts of Shetland and Orkney. Underneath those clearer skies, a widespread frost to come tonight. Temperatures perhaps -5 or -6 in the rural spots in Scotland and Northern England, but not as cold across the south. Temperatures here holding up above freezing, and we will see it generally staying frost-free. So through tomorrow then, another pretty fine day across the board. Lots of sunshine out there for all parts of the UK. There will be a fair bit of high-level cloud coming and going at times, but that shouldn't disappoint. And for most of us, we'll see plenty of sunshine. Just a very small chance of a very isolated light shower in the south. But temperatures tomorrow up to 18 or 19 degrees.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report. The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M65 in Lancashire is partly blocked eastbound by an accident at junction 3 west of Blackburn. On the M1 in Nottinghamshire, 2 lanes are closed southbound after an accident between junctions 26 and 25 from the eastward and Nottingham turn to the A52, causing delays. On the M1 in Leicestershire, there's a lane closed southbound where someone has a puncture between junctions 23A and 23 from the A42 to Loughborough, causing delays. And on the M2 in Kent, the outside lane's closed westbound just after junction 5 at Sittingbourne after an accident, with queues for around a mile towards there. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com. Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
We're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. A phone call for the history books.
Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin thrash it out in a 2-hour discussion.
The Russian president makes small concessions but rejects America's demand for all fighting to stop.
Leaving many of you asking whether Putin has played Trump.
The guns pointing at each other, and a ceasefire without going a little bit further would have been tough. Russia has the advantage, as you know.
Yes, Trump did not get that agreement for a 30-day ceasefire from Putin that America got from Ukraine a week ago. He's putting a brave face on it, but not the result that President Trump wanted.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
Happy to be in the drink. The 2 astronauts who spent 9 months in space are back down to Earth again.
Labour announces plans to shave £5 billion off the benefits bill by targeting disability payments. But is it too little, too late?
And the number of people claiming personal independence payments set to double this decade, from 2 to 4.3 million.
Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride had this to say.
They've come to this very late. The reason why they fought shy of welfare reform has been, as you've seen, it's deeply divisive within their own party.
The John F. Kennedy assassination files are released in full, sending history buffs wild.
Did you know that many mini cars are made in Cowley in Oxfordshire, once the home of booming British Leyland, I think it was. It's now falling victim to the net zero drive. We find out more in just a moment.
It's a cold start out there this morning, but temperatures are set to rise over the next few days. Find out just how warm it's going to get in your full forecast coming up.
2 minutes past 9 o'clock. A very good morning to you, however you're watching, wherever you're listening, whatever you're doing, welcome on board. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Nana Aquia, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Good to hear how many of you do listen and watch us as well. So hello there and welcome to anybody listening on radio. The Work and Pensions Secretary has unveiled a crackdown on disability benefits aimed at saving £5 billion a year in the next 5 years.
Well, that's after experts warned the sickness bill could soar to £100 billion a year if action wasn't taken.
Well, let's discuss this further now with our political correspondent. Morning, Catherine Forster.
Yes, good morning. Well, a big reaction on all sides to these announcements on welfare that were made yesterday. Now, the government say it's essential to save this £5 billion because the cost of out-of-work welfare benefits are going through the roof, projected to get up to £100 billion by 2030 without action. So, on the one hand, there's the Conservatives saying you're not going anything like far enough. This is just effectively tinkering around the edges because the costs are still going to be astronomical. But on the other hand, you've got disability groups and many Labour MPs deeply unhappy. Scope, the disability rights charity, said yesterday that the measures shame the government to its core, and many Labour MPs are unhappy because cutting people's benefits is not why your average Labour MP wanted to come into politics. The same could be said with scrapping the winter fuel allowance for many pensioners, cutting foreign aid, and so the list goes on. But the government hasn't got much money. The spring statement is coming next week, and Rachel Reeves, we understand, is going to be trying to raise money with further cuts. So, the government have said this is not a return to austerity, but for many people, I think it's going to feel like it.
Well, look, Catherine, I'm wondering, though, do we have much more detail on this, though? Because if they're only going to raise £5 billion, or save £5 billion over a certain period of time, is it actually a saving if we consider things like inflation and also that they could have cut other things? Why have they said why they specifically focused on disability benefits?
Well, because the bill is through the roof, and since the pandemic, it's got a lot worse. We've now got 2.8 million people of working age on long-term sickness benefits. It's simply unaffordable. The bill, it's more than the defence budget, the police budget, and so on and so forth. And also the government thinks that there is a moral case for this as well, because they say it's much better for you to be in work, to be contributing to society, to be earning your own money, and it wants to help people do that. Of course, part of the problem is that we've got these huge waiting lists, millions of people waiting for treatment on the NHS, presumably many of whom would be keen to work. But in terms of what we know, some of what was announced yesterday is definitely going to happen, some of which is only a consultation, and the impact assessment in terms of the numbers that are going to be affected and the specifics, we're not going to get that for another week. So there's lots of things that are not clear, but it sounds like up to 1 million people could be having their benefits cut. It's going to be much harder to claim that personal independence payment. If you're under 22, the chances are that you're not going to be able to get disability benefits. There's been a huge increase in mental health conditions. That's something that's really worrying the government, and that, I think, is partly why they're trying to crack down on this in the under 22s.
Thank you very much indeed. It's interesting, Nana, though, to listen to what Catherine's saying there about mental health conditions. And this is the controversial thing. I tell this story that going to school in Belfast one day, the bus was hijacked by armed gunmen, and they petrol bombed the bus, and the bus blew up. And I remember the college president was standing at the top of the drive, and I ran up the drive, and the bell had gone, which meant I was late for class, and the bus blew up. And I basically said to him, Father was on that bus, and the gunmen got on board and whatever it is. But I'm okay, Father, I'm okay. And I was panting away. I was 14 at the time. And do you know what he said to me?
What did he say?
Detention. And that was it. Now, nowadays, I would have had a counsellor, a carer, somebody to look after my mental health for the next 6 months or 6 years or whatever it happens to be. I wouldn't have been expected to attend class or whatever. So a whole different concept. Now, look, I got through that. My bus was blown up. Lots of other things, worse things happened and whatever. But that's the way it is. Do you think we take all of this too soft, too easily, too quickly. I mean, you're a mum. What do you think about the way your children's mental health's looked after?
Well, I make sure that they are not mollycoddled. I'm very good to them as a mum, I think, but I'm not going to take any nonsense from them. So there's no, you know, and I make sure that they're quite hard and their resolve is strong, so that they're not really weak. I actually think that the reason why this has all started this week was when they took out things like religious education from the curriculum. I go as far as back as that, where you stopped giving people a moral compass, no matter what religion you are. Those 10 commandments apply to everything.
Well, I think you've reached a very interesting point there.
That's where we went wrong. And now we've turned it into a free-for-all, who cover everyone in cotton wool. Even if you come second, you're a winner. No, you're not. You didn't come first. Do you know what I mean? I think we've lost our way.
That's Dana having her say. You have your say in this. We're going to discuss this later after the Great British Giveaway. Have a go.
Spring has sprung with a great British giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck to you. We say good luck, good morning to Stephen Timms. Stephen is the Social Security and Disability Minister. Stephen, good morning. Good to have you on board.
Good morning.
Stephen, you know, it doesn't really matter who you are, what party you are, but or indeed who is in charge. And I just put it to you, how bad are the books? I'm not saying this is Labour's fault, I'm not saying it's the Conservatives' fault, though you'll say they were there for 14 years, whatever, but it all looks like we're going to hell in a handcart on the social disability front. How bad is it?
Oh, I think it makes a big difference who's in charge. What we set out yesterday was a plan to fix a broken system, proper employment support for hundreds of thousands of people out of work at the moment on health and disability grounds who'd love to be in job if they had the support to get into a job. We're going to be providing that support. We're going to be dealing with the big discouragement to work that's presented by changes in the benefit system over the last 15 years, with at the moment significant premium if you can persuade our department that you are never going to be capable of working, whereas what we should be doing is supporting people on a pathway back into work, even if that's going to take some time. And we're making changes to ensure that the personal independence payment system is financially sustainable for the long term. I think that's the right thing to do. There's been a big increase in the cost of that benefit over the last 5 years. It's almost doubled since the year before the pandemic. But it's got a really important job to do, personal independence payment. We want to make sure it's going to be there for the long term.
All right, Stephen. Look, a lot of people are... I do agree that when benefits are going out willy-nilly, that needs to be looked at. We can't waste money like that. But first it was the pensioners, now it's the disabled. I'll quote your great leader, those with the broadest shoulders would carry the heaviest burden. Have they got the broadest shoulders? And what are you going to do about getting money off big business who aren't paying their taxes properly? Because that's where you'll get a lot of the money from, and I'm not hearing anything from your party about that.
Well, we've made some major changes, for example, around taxation of non-DOMs to make sure that people are paying their fair share. But if you look at the personal independence payment system, the year before the pandemic, that was costing the government £12 billion. This year it's going to be costing 22. If we simply allowed that rate of increase to continue, there would be a serious question mark about the future of that system. We want the system to be there for the long term because hundreds of thousands of people depend on it. And I think what we've announced yesterday will be very reassuring to a very large number of people who were worried, for example, about the proposal the previous government made to convert PIP into vouchers. That really alarmed a lot of people. We're not going to be doing that. We've set out yesterday the plan to make this benefit sustainable for the long term.
But what about big business, though? Because I agree with you. I'm not disputing that you shouldn't have a look into who's claiming the benefits and make sure that you are giving those benefits to those who truly need it. But you could recoup billions from companies who are not paying their tax correctly. These are the people with the broadest shoulders. What are you doing about addressing those issues?
Well, the Treasury is working to block the loopholes where there are loopholes and to make sure that people pay their fair share. But what we're doing in the Department for Work and Pensions is making sure we've got a sustainable and fair system, and the changes in the plan yesterday will deliver the system that we need.
Well, of course, you've trapped the farmers in one of those plans, haven't you? What about the farmers? Because they haven't got the broadest shoulders. Land-wise, they might be well off, but you and I know that they don't make millions in terms of profits and revenue. So, again, they haven't got the broadest shoulders. So what are you going to do to protect the farmers? Because farmers are up in arms over what's happening to them.
Well, my colleagues in DEFRA are spending a lot of time and effort in making sure that the financial support providing to farms is the support that they need, because we want to ensure that farmers are able to continue to produce the food that we need in the UK. We are very dependent on them. We need to continue supporting them, and my colleagues in DEFRA have explained how we're going to do that.
Yeah, Minister, I'm listening to you with great interest there, and I'm a bit depressed about all of this, because I think no matter what you do, it's not going to make a dent in the massive figures that we're having to deal with here. Could I put it to you, and would you like to comment on, do you not think that people, all of us, the general public, should maybe reduce our expectations as to what we can get from the state?
Well, in terms of a dent in the figures, I mean, there were people yesterday in the Commons calling on us to make further cuts. Others were concerned about the proposals that we've made. I think we've got the balance here right. We need to have a system which can continue to support people who depend on it for the long term. The changes that we've announced will allow us to do that. There's a very important job for the system to do. I'm confident that with these changes, and we'll be consulting on many of them over the next few weeks, but I'm confident that with these changes we can deliver what everybody in the country wants to see. Well, Stephen Timms, we've got to leave it there.
I think we've got another minute, actually. I'm going to try and squeeze in the boats. Stephen Timms, look, finally, I just want to ask you, you guys have talked about smashing the gangs and stopping the boats. We had record numbers arriving. Where are we with all of that? What is the plan for the Labour Party, or Labour government even now?
Well, Yvette Cooper has set out the plans that we are implementing on that. We do need to stop and dramatically reduce the numbers of boats coming across the channel. We're working with counterparts in France to ensure that safeguards there are improved, and I think we are going to see progress, and I agree with you, right across the country people want to see that progress being made. We're on the case, we're going to deliver.
Well, there's
very good. And we are going to say goodbye to you now, Stephen, so thank you very much indeed for your time, and hope you're enjoying the sunshine on your face this morning as well. Yeah, lovely day out there.
I am enjoying the sunshine. Thank you, you too.
Good man, thank you very much indeed.
There's 2.5 billion right there a year.
We're going to Carley in Oxfordshire, very interesting. They used to build lots and lots of cars in Cowley. They still do build cars. It's the home of the Mini, but things are going badly wrong there. People have been struggling. Find out all about that right after the short break.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Right, we're out and about. We're in Cowley in Oxfordshire now. This is home to the iconic little Mini.
Well, in recent times, they've been hard. BMW pulled £600 million of investment from the area, but is net zero to blame?
Well, let's go to Jack Carson, our man there, to find out more about this. Jack, morning to you.
Morning to you both. You're right there. There's such a rich history of car production here in Cowley, just outside Oxford. More than a century, of course. It's been British Leyland in the past. BMW bought Mini and have produced Minis here for decades. But pausing that £600 million investment, given, they say, concerns around the future of the automotive industry amid, really, a decline in electric vehicles. So pausing that hundreds of millions of pounds worth of investment puts the future of this plant a little bit at risk, given that uncertainty around electric vehicle car production. And we're here in a pub today, the beautiful Prince of Wales pub in Cowley. We're going to speak to Bruno, who's the landlord, because we're talking about the knock-on impact. You know, you must get a lot of people that work at the plant come and eat here and drink here as well.
Yes, good morning. Indeed, we have quite a big customer base that work at the factory or work at companies that work with the factory as well. So our customer base is quite dependent on it as well.
And you've put a lot of money, you've put a lot of investment recently, haven't you, into this pub to help protect the future of this pub?
Yes, so we work in a franchise model. So the franchise, they invest quite good money into the pub to bring back to the community this lovely pub, as you can see today.
Yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful pub. And tell us, do you look at the likes of the government trying to make people have more electric cars and not buy new petrol and diesel cars? Obviously, that's the reason that BMW say that they're pausing this investment. Do you kind of think that those targets that the government is setting for us all to have electric cars, for us to kind of see the end of new petrol and diesel cars, do you think that's a good idea for them to carry on doing that?
Well, to be fair, 4 or 5 years ago, it looked like the incentives were more than it is today, as we see the car tax is coming, so electrical vehicles will pay for that as well. So therefore, there's not as much incentive as it used to be in the past. So for what I know, the Mini factory, they were producing electrical vehicle. They pulled that out. Now we'll see where this will go now.
Bruno, thank you so much for giving that. Of course, this pausing of the investment and the uncertainty that then comes over the future of this plant does mean that businesses in the area could well suffer, because that £600 billion investment that BMW have paused at the moment would help secure 4,000 jobs. It's a massive employer in this area, and we're going to be in Cowley all day finding out more of the impacts to the people here.
What a history Cowley has, Jack, it has to be said. All those cars dating back, so many years. You should give us a little walk down memory lane on that. For the moment, Jack, thank you very much indeed. Bev, Andrew, good morning to you from 9:30. What have you
We are
got?
old enough to remember Red Robbo, who was the shop steward at British Leyland in Cowley. Always on blooming strike. And I know, because my dad worked for British Leyland in Swindon. It had a terrible knock-on effect,
What a dad builder. What was he?
He built the Austin Allegro.
Which was my first car.
Yeah, and he worked on the Mini, and he was on the assembly line. He was a welder.
I saw an Allegro Vanden Pla. There are not too many of those about.
I know. My dad never quite realised how mocked the Allegro was, because he was very proud of working
How
on it.
dare you? I loved my yellow one.
There we are.
That got me to sixth form college and back.
You two have a great show. Thank you very much indeed. Nana, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Back tomorrow.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers. Sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Blue skies and plenty of sunshine on offer once again today, but it will be a cold start, and we have got a fairly widespread frost this morning, particularly across more central and northern parts of the UK. But plenty of sunshine across the board. Just a little bit more in the way of wispy high clouds spreading up from the south as we go through the middle to latter part of this afternoon. And perhaps just one or two very isolated showers, but a much sunnier day for Northern Ireland and for northern and western parts of Scotland compared to Tuesday. And look at these temperatures, a little bit higher than of late, so perhaps 16 or 17 degrees in parts of England and Wales, and even further north it should be a fine end to the day as well. A bit more in the way of cloud developing as we go through into this evening, though. And as you can see on the graphics, just a small chance of catching a very isolated light shower, but most places will stay dry. And temperatures through this evening's rush hour still 12, 13 degrees in the south. A little bit colder about across Northern Ireland, across parts of Scotland. Temperatures dipping away fairly quickly into single figures here through this evening underneath those clearing skies. And we will see temperatures fall once again below freezing as we go through the course of tonight. But those clearing skies maintain the low temperatures across Scotland and Northern Ireland and Northern England through tonight. Just the chance of the odd shower clipping parts of Shetland and Orkney. Underneath those clearer skies, a widespread frost to come tonight. Temperatures perhaps -5 or -6 in the rural spots in Scotland and Northern England, but not as cold across the south. Temperatures here holding up above freezing, and we will see it generally staying frost-free. So through tomorrow then, another pretty fine day across the board. Lots of sunshine out there for all parts of the UK. There will be a fair bit of high-level cloud coming and going at times, but that shouldn't disappoint. And for most of us, we'll see plenty of sunshine. Just a very small chance of a very isolated light shower in the south. But temperatures tomorrow up to 18 or 19 degrees.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Tyne and Wear, the A1058 is closed eastbound along Coast Road at Willington after an accident causing queues. In Norfolk, the A47 is partly blocked eastbound south of Norwich, causing delays. In Buckinghamshire, the A40 is partly blocked westbound by an accident just before junction 1 of the M40 at the Denham roundabout after an accident with queues back around Uxbridge. The M2 in Kent is partly blocked eastbound by an accident between junctions 4 and 5 between Gillingham and Sittingbourne, causing queues. And in Dorset, the A338 is partly blocked northbound by an accident just after the Blackwater junction at Herne, northeast of Bournemouth.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Do you know what the little green huts dotted around central London are? I went to Grosvenor Gardens earlier this week to visit one.
Excuse me, sir. There's a green building there.
Yeah.
Have you any idea what it's for?
No idea. No. What is it? Do you know?
Dotted around central London are elegant green huts, which are as distinctive of the metropolis as the red and blue roundels that